My House of Horrors chapter 901 to 920. I'm not lying to you. Everything that I've written is real. The doll's fingers were about to break, but the person next to him did not react at all. This made him mad and embarrassed. Of course, Chen Ge knew that the doll was telling the truth, but the problem was, he was not being used by Zhang Ya. If one had to analyze it, it was Zhang Ya who had saved Chen Ge many times. Without this specter who was like a nightmare that he could not shake off, Chen Ge would have been killed by an axe during his first trial mission. The doll lay on the ground, his legs still held by Chen Ge. It was hard to imagine him to be the school's most mysterious headmaster. Ever since she left, no one has entered the forbidden zone. I know she will return. If she realizes I still have my consciousness, I will die. So you are my only chance. The doll could not speak, so his fingers continued to write furiously. His eyes stared at Chen Ge, and there were complicated emotions in his eyes. No one spoke in the corridor. Chen Ge did not know what to say. This was the first time he had encountered something like this. You will die. Those trapped specters in the room will be your end. Don't be tricked by her. After a long time, the doll heard this from Chen Ge's lips. What did she do to you? Can't you tell? I've already become like this. Do I need to tell you the details? The doll was furious, and his eyes were red. The her that you speak of is completely different from the her in my memory, Zhang Ya. Don't say that name, don't mention it, don't say it. Chen Ge was only halfway through when the doll started to write madly. Fine, from how I see it, that girl, wake up. Look at the pitiful people crying behind the door. Do you think you can call her a girl? The doll seemed to have a mental problem. If he had become a specter after his death due to a certain obsession, then for him now, Zhang Ya had become his new obsession. You're not allowed to do this, and you're not allowed to do that. You sure are interesting. Chen Ge looked at the doll's red eyes, and his tone slowly changed. You became like this because you did something to make her unhappy, right? The doll's fingers that were waving madly suddenly stopped. He seemed to be thinking about how to answer this question. Only if you tell me the truth will I be able to help you. Chen Ge had a kind smile on his face. After all, saving you requires a lot of risk. Okay. The doll was finally persuaded. His stomach and throat growled, and small blood vessels curled around the patch to form lines of bloody words on his old jacket. The reason this school appeared was because a child pushed open a door. The child was once a student at my school, and due to a small misunderstanding, after he pushed open the door, he dragged me into the door. Only when you're in the deepest despair will you have the chance to push open the door. I'm afraid it wasn't a simple misunderstanding that the door pusher dragged you inside, right? Chen Ge could tell that the doll was lying. If that's the case, we won't be able to continue this conversation. I'm not lying to you. The door pusher studied at Western Zhujiang Private Academy, and I was the headmaster there. The child was bullied by the school, and he died in the fire due to various reasons. I admit that I had a problem with the management of the school, but his death had nothing to do with me. You're the headmaster of Western Zhujiang Private Academy? Not many people knew about Western Zhujiang Private Academy, but the fact that the doll could say it so clearly meant that he did know something. Yes, I was dragged into the door by the door pusher. I knew the child was pitiful, so no matter what he did to me, I would not hate him. If anything, I would feel guilty. At the time, he and I were the only ones at the school. Perhaps my companionship moved him, and he finally forgave me. Don't make yourself sound so noble. Chen Ge had a feeling that the doll was lying, but there were some truths mixed in with the lie. As the door's existence grew, more and more people and specters started to enter through the door. That was when she came in. The doll finally reached the part that interested Chen Ge. The door pusher and I never harmed her. Initially, she appeared harmless, but we later realized that was just a disguise. Not long after she entered, the specters and outsiders at the school started to disappear. The door pusher and I suspected that they had been consumed by something. From then on, the school behind the door changed. After investigation, the door pusher realized that the killer was that woman. Chen Ge did not believe everything that the doll said. He was not someone who trusted others easily. The door pusher realized that Zhang Ya was the killer, but in the end, the door pusher was killed by Zhang Ya. Don't you think that's very contradictory? The woman consumed many specters and even a red specter. The door pusher was no match for her. You're still lying. Chen Ge grabbed the doll's legs and stared into his eyes. After pushing open the door pusher's power would at least double. As long as he didn't walk out of this scenario, Zhang Ya was no match for him. Chen Ge was someone who had seen much of the world, and he was familiar with the division of power among red specters. When he first met Zhang Ya had already consumed the door pusher, but even so, killing the door pusher behind the door was still very difficult. It was indeed her who killed the door pusher, but too much time has passed, so I might not remember certain details. If you don't remember, don't lie. There's a price to pay for lying. Chen Ge grabbed the doll's legs and pulled, but he could not hurt the doll. Xu Yin, help me break one of his legs. Xu Yin, who stood next to him, reached out with his pale arms. Before the doll could write more, he grabbed the doll's body and tore off one of its legs. It was just a doll, but blood leaked out from the wound, and the doll's eyes turned red like they were going to pop out of their sockets. Xu Yin tossed the doll's broken leg to the ground and retreated quietly. Actually, Chen Ge did not expect Xu Yin to be so decisive. When he said to break the leg, he only meant to break the bone, not to separate the leg from the body. Of course, Chen Ge would not tell anyone that. Maintaining the smile, he leaned closer to the doll. Are you more clear-headed now? If not, I can still help you. Quote. The doll struggled on the ground, but other than his eyes and fingers, he could not move, so he gave in. I'll tell you the truth. It was the door pusher himself who consumed the other specters and outsiders at the school. When he was hunting the woman, there was an accident, and the two of them entered a red city. In the end, the door pusher died in the city, but the woman returned. In other words, Zhang Ya was able to kill the door pusher because of that red city, and her secret is inside that city. Chen Ge looked at the doll, who had become much more obedient. Yes, she found something in that red city, and the key is that she knows the way to the center of the red city. The way to the center of the red city? Zhang Ya has been to the center of the red city before? Chen Ge looked at the words on the doll, and his eyes slowly narrowed. In his mind, the city was very dangerous, a forbidden place that should not be entered, but he did not expect Zhang Ya to have been there a long time ago. Yes, she knew the way from the beginning. When she was chased by the door pusher, she escaped from the school scenario. The doll did not sound like he was lying, but Chen Ge still did not believe him completely. The door pusher has absolute control over the door that he pushes open. He knows every corner of this scenario because the whole scenario is woven from his memory. Chen Ge grabbed the doll's other leg. Are you still lying to me? No. The color of the words on the doll darkened like he was really afraid of Chen Ge. Every half-red specter, or rather, every specter who has the right to become a red specter, has a special power. Do you know what that woman's special power is? Don't keep me in suspense. Chen Ge indeed did not know what Zhang Ya's special power was because he realized that Zhang Ya had too many special powers, and the number was shocking. I don't know what her power is exactly, but I heard from the door pusher that she can gain the power of other specters through a certain method. The doll's words confirmed some of Chen Ge's earlier speculations. This is the scariest and most unique power that I've ever seen, so until now, no one knows what she can do because she has so many powers. Reading the words on the doll, Chen Ge did not speak immediately. Zhang Ya was the only specter who had a personal page on the black phone. Initially, Chen Ge thought that only red specters would have a personal page on the black phone, but after Xu Yin became a red specter, he realized that things were not that simple. Xu Yin, who was already considered one of the stronger red specters, only had his name turned blood red in the black phone's employee list, and there was an additional, red specter, in his introduction. Zhang Ya is one of the most unique red specters, and this is strongly acknowledged by the black phone. Chen Ge thought back to the time when Zhang Ya had fought the Shadow in Liwan City. The Shadow had listed out several powers that Zhang Ya possessed, and coincidentally, all of them were powers that Chen Ge had seen on other specters. Her true power should also have some kind of limitation, which should also be her only weakness. Chen Ge mumbled to himself. He grabbed the doll and picked it up. You should know how scary Zhang Ya is without me telling you. Saving you means making her my enemy. Why would I provoke a top red specter that I can't kill for someone I'm not related to? The bloody words on the doll did not change for a long time. Chen Ge's tone changed. He leaned close to the doll and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, unless you tell me her weakness and give me a chance to defeat her. Chen Ge's voice was like a demon's. He should be the first living person to trick a specter. You have no other choice now. Either you tell me everything, or I will personally hand you over to Zhang. The doll's red eyes stared at Chen Ge like he was considering whether he should trust him or not. My time is limited. If you can't satisfy me, I won't risk my life for you. Her weakness is her heart. I overheard some things from the door pusher. Every red specter has their own heart, and it's formed from their lingering spirit. This is the key to their becoming a red specter, but it's also their weakest point. The doll did not realize that the way Chen Ge looked at him was slowly changing. It's very difficult to kill that woman unless you destroy her heart. Initially, the door pusher thought that her lingering spirit was the people who had hurt her at school, but he later realized that was not the case. When he changed his mind, the woman already noticed it, and she hid her heart. Hid her heart? She can hide her heart? Chen Ge memorized every word that the doll said. If he had been led to another world by the black phone, then the doll's words would help him understand this world better. A red specter's heart is formed from some kind of lingering spirit. If she places that spirit on a certain place or on a certain person, as long as nothing happens to that person, no matter how big the wound is, her soul will not dissipate. The blood vessels on the doll's body became more active. After he left the room, the pressure on him was weakening. The door pusher has been investigating for so long. Do you have any clues? Chen Ge asked casually. There are two possibilities. 1. She has hidden her heart at the deepest part of the Red City, but the possibility of that is not high because the center of the Red City is very dangerous, and she is unable to control it. The second possibility is that she has placed her heart somewhere outside the door. That place could be a person or an object, like, the words on the doll's clothes stopped there. He was holding something back. If he told Chen Ge everything here, his safety would not be guaranteed. Actually, when the doll mentioned something, a certain object flashed across Chen Ge's mind, Zhang Ya's love letter. Zhang Ya had placed her heart on the love letter. In Liwan City, Chen Ge had torn up the love letter and had Zhang Ya move into his shadow. Being inseparable for the rest of her life was not just for show. Zhang Ya's soul was Chen Ge's shadow. Based on what the doll said, Chen Ge was Zhang Ya's weakness. Take me out, and I'll tell you everything. The doll's eyes were red. You have her scent on you. She will not let you go. She will haunt you forever. Only I can help you. Let me think about it. With a smile on his face, Chen Ge looked at the doll's face. He was considering how to make a specter disappear without leaving a trace in this world. She might wake up at any moment. Think about it quickly. The doll was still urging Chen Ge. Okay, I'll give you an answer as soon as possible. Before that, I'll take you with me. Now, Chen Ge had one more thing that was very important to him, and that was this doll. He thought about it for a long time and decided to hand the doll over to Zhang Ya personally. The woman should have a better solution. After all, she was the one who had made the doll. Before Zhang Ya woke up, Chen Ge would ensure that the doll remained intact. He picked up the backpack and had Shu Yin hold the doll. Together, they left the female dormitory. After dealing with the doll, no one would know about Zhang Ya's weakness, and a weakness that no one knew about was not a weakness. Walking out from the female dormitory, Chen Ge realized that the outside of the school had changed a lot. The red fog and black malice intertwined. If there was a real hell, this was probably what it looked like. The visibility has decreased again. Every time I breathe, there is a stench in my throat like I'm swallowing a mouthful of blood. Chen Ge had stayed inside the door for too long. His body was reaching its limit. More and more blood vessels appeared on the surface of his skin. If this continued, he suspected that he would be assimilated by the door and never be able to leave again. Go to the other scenarios. At most, I'll stay for one night. Chen Ge waved his arms as hard as he could, trying to shake off the blood vessels formed from resentment and negative emotions, but it was useless. The scariest thing was that a small portion of the blood vessels seemed to have crawled into his flesh. If one did not pay attention, one would think that there were small wounds on his arms. Walking in the black malice and red fog, the number of students following behind Chen Ge increased. Where's Mr. Lei? Didn't he say that I won't make it out alive? The outer perimeter of the school was heavily damaged. Mr. Lei left early. A female teacher was shocked when she saw that Chen Ge was fine. There's nothing to brag about being able to make it out alive from the forbidden zone. In fact, you've made such a big mistake this time. In the future, you'll be targeted by the school's consciousness. You keep talking about the school's consciousness, but do you think the decision made by the school's consciousness is always correct? Chen Ge wiped the blood on his arm. He realized that he could not wipe it off, so he decided to ignore it. I can't argue with you. The school's consciousness might not be correct, but the school's consciousness is the consciousness of most of the students here. Here, they are the real masters. The female teacher was helpless. As a teacher at the school, even though the students called her teacher, she was greatly restricted. She was more like a low-level manager hired by the school's consciousness. The world behind the door belongs to the door pusher. The door should listen to whoever pushed it open. Unless someone kills the door pusher, Chen Ge said with a half-truth. In that case, I will listen to whoever kills the door pusher. Crazy. The female teacher stood with the other teachers. She did not want to be too close to Chen Ge. After I leave, it's better if you guys seal this place up. Although there's nothing I'm looking for inside, it's still very dangerous. It wouldn't be good if some students sneak in. We don't need you to teach us. We know what to do. Without staying any longer, Chen Ge led the others to the center of the school. He had already gained the support of many students, but the number was still far from enough. He needed to gain the recognition of more students and make them believe in him. I have to gain the support of enough students before Chong Wenyu and the painter react. Chen Ge knew very well that the painter and Chong Wenyu ignored him because they thought Chen Ge was not a threat. If they realized Chen Ge's real goal was to let the old headmaster control the school, they would probably kill Chen Ge first. Chen Ge, where are we going now? Yin Hong's view of Chen Ge had changed. She even hesitated to call out Chen Ge's full name. The center of the school has the most students. We'll go there first. Other than that, isn't there a taboo related to the headmaster? I heard the headmaster's office is at the center. We can go there to take a look. Chen Ge had a plan. His time was limited, and he could not investigate the 13 forbidden zones one by one. He had to start from the most important one. The headmaster and the 4th floor of the female dormitory are the two most dangerous taboo zones. You just came out from the female dormitory. Do you want to take a break? Speed is the key. Chen Ge walked at the front with Xu Yin. He leaned close to the doll on Xu Yin's shoulder and whispered, "It's time for you to prove yourself." The doll's red eyes twitched. He instinctively wanted to stay away from Chen Ge. Actually, he had no choice but to ask Chen Ge to lead him away from the female dormitory. From his perspective, as long as he left the female dormitory, he would have a chance to escape. Didn't you say you're the first headmaster of the school? Tell me the location of the headmaster's office. I need something that can prove your identity. If there was enough time, Chen Ge planned to explore all the taboo zones at the school and create 13 new ones in his haunted house. Too much time has passed, and many things have happened. This school has changed. I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to get to the headmaster's office. Blood vessels weaved out the words from the gap on the doll's chest. You don't want to. Chen Ge grabbed the doll's remaining leg. Or are you not the first headmaster of the school of the afterlife, and you were lying to me earlier? I'll take you there. The doll's eyes bulged out. There are 2 headmasters' offices. One is the headmaster's office at Western Zhujiang Private Academy. It's on the top floor of the school, but there's nothing there. It's just an empty shell. The other headmaster's office is the room where the door pusher used to live. He likes to hide there alone to spy on the lives of other specters and monsters behind the door. Quote. The room where the door pusher used to live. Yes, this room is hidden. Not many people know about it. Take me there. Chen Ge could not wait any longer. Under his constant urging, the doll brought him to the center of the Ghost Correction Center. This is the place. The doll used the only finger that he could move to point at the notice board. There are many hidden rooms in the school, and each room is hiding a secret. If you can take me away, I can tell you the location of all the hidden rooms. Chen Ge stopped before the board. The wall was filled with various notices and self-criticism, and there were pictures of the students. This was not a wall of honor but a wall of shame. All the ugliness of the school was pasted on this wall. Tear down all the notices and self-criticism, and you'll see the room. Okay. Chen Ge signaled for the students behind him to move together, but none of them dared to tear down the notice on the wall. In fact, he saw a child's picture stuck right before him. The child stared at his own picture and did not dare to move. What are you afraid of? Mistakes have to be punished. That is the school's rule. If we tear down these notices, we'll be going against the school's will, Han Song whispered. No wonder no one has been able to find this room. After hearing that, Chen Ge looked at the sky outside the window. The blood-red eyeball felt like it was pressing down on his head, making it hard for him to breathe. However, the eyeball seemed to be under a lot of pressure, and the eyeball was pulsing with blood vessels. The criticism is to warn, not to humiliate. Chen Ge tore down one of the notices. Let's do it together. Stop wasting time. Quote. With him and the workers leading the way, slowly, more students joined in. Over the years, the wall had been pasted with layers of notices. It took a long time before the red paint was revealed. The wall beneath the notices and photos was like a piece of scarred skin. There were cracks everywhere, and blood was still oozing out. The entrance is on the left. Initially, the wall was only 1 meter wide, but it seemed to have absorbed too much resentment and grew on its own. Chen Ge kept searching on the wall until he found the door that had almost melted into the wall. This is the door pusher's room. Pushing the door open, Chen Ge looked in. The whole room was filled with many kinds of mirrors. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. At the School of the Afterlife, mirrors had a special meaning. Each mirror represented a person, and each mirror hid a piece of memory. The scene before him shocked Chen Ge. He had been at the school for so long, but he had not seen many red flags. He did not expect all the mirrors to be hidden in this room. The mirror represents the memory, and the memory hides the secret. The door pusher is looking into the past of all the specters and outsiders behind the door. The color of the door and the wall was the same, almost blending into one. The door was covered in pictures and notices. After the death of the door pusher, no one would have thought there would be a room behind this wall of shame. This door pusher has a unique hobby. Is it the despair behind the door that twisted him, or did he give up on himself and open his arms to embrace the abyss? Chen Ge was curious about every door pusher, and the door pusher at the School of the Afterlife was the only one who had died, so he had a lot of research value. Follow me closely. Chen Ge dragged Xu Yin into the hidden room. I'm not lying to you. This is the headmaster's office that you're going to. The door pusher is the owner of the school, and this room is the most hidden room at the school. The doll was changing the concept, but Chen Ge was so attracted by the scene inside the room that he did not notice the new blood words that appeared on the doll. The room was not big. There were no windows or ventilation holes. The only thing that connected the room to the outside world was the door. This is the most depressing room I've ever seen. Bai Cholan carried the mirror and did not follow Chen Ge. He only looked outside for a while before shaking his head. Locking yourself inside a room filled with mirrors and looking at yourself in the mirror, even a specter would not do something like that. Don't underestimate these mirrors. Chen Ge carefully picked up a broken mirror from the ground. He held the mirror before his eyes, but it was not him that was reflected in the mirror. The mirror that was empty looked strange and pitiful. The School of the Afterlife is different from other scenarios because of the appearance of the mirror. The secret to the mirror should be in this room. There was no place to move in the room. The mirrors and mirror pieces were piled together, overlapping each other. Like the school's consciousness above them, everyone's memory and consciousness were gathered together, and they were indistinguishable. I've brought you to the headmaster's office as well. I'm being very sincere. The doll hooked his finger on Chen Ge's shirt to show Chen Ge himself. Yes. Chen Ge's response was only one word. He was attracted by a mirror in the corner of the room. Most of the mirrors in the room were broken, and the edges were uneven. The surface was smeared with blood and stains, but there was a mirror in the corner that was perfectly preserved. It emitted a faint red light, and there was blood flowing on the surface of the mirror as if something was trying to get out. Whose mirror could it be? It looks like a girl's mirror. Could it be Chong Wenyu's? Quote. Chen Ge was suddenly reminded of a question. If every student at the school had a mirror, could Zhang Ya's mirror be in this room? Shaking his head, Chen Ge chased the thought out of his mind. Zhang Ya killed the door pusher, so why would she leave her mirror behind? With that thought in mind, Chen Ge was even more curious. Xu Yin, go and get that mirror. Chen Ge accepted the doll. He was worried that this was a trap, so he prevented the doll from interacting with anything in the room. Hearing Chen Ge's order, Xu Yin walked toward the corner of the room, but when he stepped on the mirror, all the mirrors in the room started to leak blood. Cracks appeared, and the mirrors were like mouths trying to swallow Xu Yin. "Come back," Chen Ge shouted. After Xu Yin stopped approaching, the mirrors in the room slowly returned to normal. His clothes were touched, and Chen Ge turned back to look. Another sentence appeared on the doll's body. "Once these mirrors are touched, the school's consciousness will target you." That was a warning. "I can only look but not touch." Not really. This warning should only work on red specters. If it was a normal lingering spirit, they wouldn't react so strongly. What if it's a living person? Chen Ge returned the doll to Xu Yin. The door pusher and the school probably didn't expect a living person to enter this room. When I picked up one of the mirror pieces, they didn't react. I'm not sure. Chen Ge did not ask for the doll's opinion. He slowly stepped on the mirror pieces. As he expected, everything in the room was normal. "Xu Yin, stay here and don't move." Moving forward bit by bit, Chen Ge's body stood on top of the pile of mirror pieces. "I'm sorry, I've offended you." Every mirror was a memory. Chen Ge's apology was to reassure himself. He lowered his head to look around. There were so many mirror pieces that it felt like the place was a graveyard of mirrors. Only the mirror in the corner has blood flowing on its surface. Whose mirror is that? Chen Ge already had the painter's mirror, but that information had come from Never Smiler, so it was not that reliable. His feet were covered in mirror pieces, and he would fall if he was not careful. Being injured was not a big deal, but Chen Ge did not want to destroy these mirrors. He slowly moved his body, and it took him more than a minute to reach the corner. He squatted down to study the mirror pieces before him. This mirror was different from the others. When he looked at it, more blood appeared on the surface like it was not a mirror but a beating heart. There seems to be something inside the mirror. Chen Ge used his yin-yang vision, and to his surprise, he realized that the red mirror reflected the room. Inside the enclosed space filled with mirror pieces, a boy in a red shirt was squatting in the corner, focusing on a mirror that was used for female makeup. Wait a minute, this scenario is similar to what I'm facing now. Chen Ge was about to retreat when the boy in the mirror suddenly turned around. The man's face was 80% similar to Chen Ge's, and the scariest thing was that his facial features were slowly changing, and they looked more and more like Chen Ge. A scapegoat. Chen Ge was about to retreat when the man in the red mirror suddenly screamed. His hands tore at his face, and large chunks of flesh were gouged out. It was as if this face was a sign of extreme misfortune and disaster. As the boy in the mirror went crazy, a loud crash came from outside the corridor. Then, Chen Ge heard the old headmaster's voice. "Chen Ge, there's something wrong with the school's consciousness. The eyeball is bleeding." Quote. Why is there a problem with the school's consciousness? Chen Ge was standing on a pile of broken mirrors. If he moved too much, he would shatter the mirrors under his feet. "Attention! Stay away from the windows!" the old headmaster yelled. He did not think much before ordering the students to hide. This was rooted in his bones, and his body acted before his mind. What's happening outside? It was chaos in the corridor. Before Chen Ge could ask, the sound of glass shattering came from outside the corridor. All the windows of the school had exploded. A thick blood fog drifted down the corridor. Chen Ge looked toward the door. The screams and the sound of glass shattering were endless. The only thing that comforted him was that no matter what happened, Xu Yin held the doll with one hand and guarded the door like nothing could shake him. When the boy in the mirror screamed, it was when the school's consciousness changed. Could there be a connection? Chen Ge pulled back his gaze and turned to look at the blood mirror before him. Cracks appeared on the surface of the mirror, and blood kept gushing out from it. It looked like a heart that had been stabbed full of knives. The little person in the mirror tore at his own face like he wanted to tear off Chen Ge's face. What is this thing? Chen Ge was very brave. He knew that red specters and red specters would not be able to get close. Gritting his teeth, he reached for the mirror in the corner. Just as his fingertip touched the edge of the mirror, Chen Ge heard a scream coming from inside the mirror. The bloody face was screaming at Chen Ge outside the mirror. He looked like a severe germaphobe who found out that someone had used a muddy hand to touch his glass of water. The boy in the mirror was screaming, and the collective consciousness above the school was on a rampage. The sound of glass shattering echoed in the corridor, and the blood fog rushed into the room like a wave. However, the room that Chen Ge was in was not affected. Xu Yin stood at the door, holding the doll with one hand and holding the door with the other. The blood vessels on his shirt curled around his body, and his pale hands gripped the door. He blocked all the fog that entered the room. The red shirt fluttered, and his body was under unimaginable pressure, but Xu Yin's expression did not change. It's you who is calling the school's consciousness. You can influence the school's consciousness. Chen Ge gripped the edge of the mirror and tried to pick it up. The mirror was much heavier than Chen Ge had expected. He used all his strength, but he was unable to remove the mirror from the pile of broken pieces. To make matters worse, as he continued to pull, the mirrors in the room started to change. The mirrors were like wounds on a living person, and they started to bleed. Chen Ge felt like he was being watched by many bleeding eyes. They came from different people, and they used different emotions to stare at him through the mirror. Bang! A loud explosion came from the corridor outside. It was very close to them, like something had come and was fighting with the old headmaster. Is it a teacher? Or another red specter at the school? Chen Ge panicked. The boy in the mirror could influence the school's consciousness, and he seemed to know some secrets about his face. The man must have realized something, and that was why he tore off the face that had started to change. This mirror is probably the mirror of Western Zhujiang's private academy's door pusher. There are fragments of his memory inside it. Chen Ge still remembered what he saw when he first looked at the mirror. The mirror reflected this room, and the boy in the red shirt was locked inside. If Zhang Ya really killed the door pusher, then I can't keep this mirror shard. He might harm Zhang Ya. Considering the fact that the doll was right next to him, Chen Ge did not say that out loud. He just wanted to make this mirror even more. Chen Ge was more clear-headed than ever. Only by getting this mirror would he be able to stop the boy from interfering with the school's consciousness. The door pusher is dead. Now, the school belongs to everyone. You shouldn't exist. Chen Ge could not pull the mirror out, so he kicked it, but there was no change on the surface. However, the boy in the mirror seemed to have calmed down. The boy hid inside the mirror to study Chen Ge, and he slowly realized that he had recognized the wrong person. The face looked like someone else, but there was a fundamental difference between the two. Chen Ge also noticed the change in the boy. After so many things, he was very sensitive. Without hesitation, he said, "Xu Yin, take out the mirror." Quote. The mirror cracked on the ground, and Xu Yin rushed to Chen Ge's side. His pale fingers grabbed the edge of the mirror. The boy in the mirror screamed, and blood leaked out from the cracks. The blood pooled into tiny needles that pierced into Xu Yin's palms. Small wounds appeared on his palms. Xu Yin's red eyes twitched, and the familiar pain caused his lips to open. Blood vessels leaked out from the wound on his palm. Xu Yin let go of the doll and gripped the mirror shard tightly with both hands. Pa! The blood mirror that was buried in a pile of broken mirror was snapped in half. This was something that no one expected. The half mirror in Xu Yin's hands was covered in cracks. It exploded instantly, and the lower half lost all color. It shrank back into the pile of broken pieces and disappeared. Do you think you've escaped? Chen Ge gritted his teeth. He had realized something from the boy's strange behavior. Assuming that the boy in the mirror was the door pusher's lingering memory, it would explain why there had not been a new door pusher at the school. The real door pusher was still dead. Secondly, and this was the most important point, if the boy was really the door pusher, based on what the doll said, he had entered the center of the Red City. When he changed into Chen Ge's face, his behavior could not be described as normal anymore. It was like opening a gift box and finding a bomb that was about to explode. The man had probably seen a face that looked similar to Chen Ge's somewhere before. Even the school's consciousness is going crazy. How much stimulation is this? Could it be that he saw the ghost fetus in the Red City and got the wrong person? In Liwan City, the Shadow's dog had gotten the wrong person as well. Chen Ge, have you gotten what you want? We can't stay here any longer. Quote. The old headmaster kept reminding him. Chen Ge quickly led Xu Yin and the doll out of the room. I plan to search through all the mirror pieces in this room, so we can't leave. Before he finished, Chen Ge lifted his head to look at the school's consciousness outside the window. The large eyeball reflected all the buildings at the school, and to everyone's disbelief, the eyeball itself was slowly expanding like it could shatter at any moment. The blood-red eyeball that covered the school was like the mirror that Chen Ge had seen earlier. The surface was bleeding, and there was an obvious black crack in the middle of the pupil. The school has never changed like this before. Yinhong held Yin Bai's hand as they stood at the door. Her crazed expression had disappeared, and only shock and anxiety remained in her eyes. The windows of the school were seriously broken. If the school could be considered a closed scenario before, now it was completely connected to the outside world. Almost all the windows in the corridor were broken, and it would be difficult to fix them all. Without the glass, the students realized that the Red City was right before them. "Sir, gather the students immediately. Do not get close to the windows, it is very dangerous outside." The Blood City was getting closer and closer to the school of the afterlife. Using yin-yang vision, Chen Ge could see the buildings in the city clearly. There are very scary existences hidden in the blood fog. There are things that even red specters are not willing to provoke. Dr. Gao had been driven mad in the Red City, and Chen Ge was doing this to protect the students. The mirror in the hidden room had broken in half, and the eyeball in the sky had a similar change. Chen Ge would not believe that there was no connection between the two. "Look, there are people in the fog," someone shouted from the corridor, and everyone turned to look out the window. There were some shadows on the ground outside the education block. They had all run out from the school. "What are they doing?" Before Chen Ge could come up with an answer, the school reacted. Many shrieking ghosts crawled out from the eyeball and tore the people who wandered out from the buildings. The first batch of people were quickly dealt with, but then more people ran out from the buildings, and most of them were students from the school. It was unclear whether they had been tricked or someone had planned this beforehand, but everyone rushed toward the front gate. The school's consciousness did not hesitate when it tore the adults apart, but facing the students, it hesitated. Even though it had the power of a greater red specter, it was formed from multiple consciousnesses. There was still a gap between it and a real greater red specter. While they were hesitating, a small number of students rushed to the front gate of the school. However, the door that looked normal seemed to have some kind of curse on it. As long as the students touched the door, they would turn into a blood flower, and the last blood flower would become the school's nourishment. Entering the school of the afterlife is easy, but leaving will be difficult. The despairing consciousness will stop us madly. They will not allow themselves to sink into the hell of pain and see others being saved. Yin Hong looked at the students with pity. They won't be able to escape. Since who knows when, no one has been able to leave this school. That might not be the case. I know someone who escaped from the school. Chen Ge stared at the front gate like he was looking for something. Not long after, when most of the students turned into blood flowers and returned to the school's consciousness, an unassuming figure among the group reached the school gate. The man seemed to have practiced this many times. He held something in his hand and slammed it at the gate. A man's voice came out from the gigantic blood-red eyeball in the sky. Countless wills rushed towards the strange man in front of the school gate crazily. The school uniform was torn by the blood vessels, and the white coat underneath was revealed. The man who charged at the gate was the doctor from the school's hospital. His real identity was a patient who had escaped from the cursed hospital. Why did this man charge out? Didn't he come to the school of the afterlife to seek refuge? Why would he challenge the school's consciousness? Chen Ge had a feeling that things were not that simple. The school's consciousness seemed to be restrained by something and could not use its full power, but even so, it should be enough to stop a red specter. The doctor from the school's hospital attracted the school's attention. He shouldered all the pressure. The white coat on his body tore layer by layer, and the blood-red patient's garb that was innermost was revealed. Something's wrong. In Chen Ge's impression, most red specters were cunning and selfish. This patient was able to cooperate with the non-smiler to escape from the hospital, so he was definitely not a simple-minded person. Why would he come forward at a time like this? Someone is plotting against the school's consciousness. This is a trap targeted at a greater red specter. Chen Ge had an answer in his heart. When the doctor blocked all the attacks, a short, slightly hunchbacked man reached the school gate at the back of the crowd. He kept his head lowered, and when his body touched the gate, he raised his face. It was an old and normal face. His right eye was murky, and his left eye only had a black hole. Chong Ji Yu. Without any hesitation, when he raised his head, his palm that was holding something pressed against the lock of the gate. Bang! A sound echoed in the school like something was being crushed. The source of the sound could not be found. It seemed to come from the large eyeball above, or it seemed to come from the left eye of every student. The black and red iron door was pushed open a gap, and then a wave of blood fog rushed into the school from the outside and swept through the school. At the same time, all the students at the school felt pain coming from the deepest part of their consciousness, like the iron that was branded on their soul was being yanked out. Many familiar yet strange memories rushed into their minds. Many students around Chen Ge collapsed to the ground, and they wailed in pain. Pa! As if a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, the blood-colored eyeball formed by the will of countless students split open from the middle. The huge eyeball was like a melting iceberg, and countless blood vessels intertwined to form a huge mirror in the sky. The mirror was also a school, and many children were looking up at this inverted blood-red world. That's the east and west campuses built by the painter. Chen Ge's eyes widened. Everything was so familiar. He looked at the sky above him, and he was so shocked that he could not speak. As the eyeball cracked open, the blood vessels broke, and the large mirror that covered the school slowly crumbled. The normal students in the mirror were turning into blood vessels that contained memories, and at the center of the school, a boy and a girl were standing on the roof of the lab building. They were the ones closest to the blood-red world. The boy had a broken drawing board before him, and there was no expression on his face. The girl sat at the edge of the building, and she quietly admired the blood-red sky above her. Painter, you've lost. The eyeball that hung above the school cracked open in the middle and turned into a large mirror that covered the whole school. The surface of the mirror was blood-red. This side of the mirror was the blood world behind the door, and the other side was the two campuses that the painter had created. The two campuses were created by the painter using the students' remaining memories. When the school's consciousness was heavily damaged, the campuses that he spent so much effort to build were naturally affected. Chen Ge lifted his head to look at the mirror in the sky. The girl sitting on the top floor of the lab building was doing the same thing. Chong Wenyu. A name crossed Chen Ge's mind. The girl was completely different from how Chen Ge had imagined her. In Chong Gu's movies, Chong Wenyu had many personalities, but she was a quiet and cute girl. This should be how Chong Ji-yu imagined Chong Wenyu to be, and as her brother, he did not know his sister well. Due to various reasons, Chen Ge was misled. The real Chong Wenyu was a girl that people would not want to get close to. Her left eye had been gouged out, leaving behind a dark hole. Her right eye seemed to be burning with fire, hiding a suppressed madness. This kind of person could do anything. There was nothing in the world that could restrain them, and even they could not control themselves. In comparison, the painter was the other extreme. He did not say a word, and he was as silent as a dead sea. Even if the drawing board was broken, even if the campuses that he had built were collapsing, even if the school's consciousness was heavily damaged, his expression did not change. The painter and Chong Wenyu were two extremes. When the school's consciousness was damaged, and the whole school was exposed to the Red City, of the two, one lowered his head to look at his drawing board like he was reminiscing about the painting that he had once used it to draw, and the other sat at the edge of the building looking at the sky on the other side of the mirror like he was enjoying this rare chaos. Two madmen. Chen Ge's gaze moved from the girl to the boy. He was now certain that the painter and Fan Yu had some kind of connection. They had the same face, but their bodies were slightly different. Fan Yu kept his head down, probably due to his low self-esteem, and his back was slightly hunched. The painter looked more normal. I've seen Fan Yu outside the door with my own eyes. I've even taken him out for dinner and painting. I didn't expect something like this to happen. Chen Ge could not move his eyes away from the painter. He could not understand why there would be another Fan Yu behind the door when the Fan Yu outside the door was still alive. Furthermore, the two had completely different personalities and abilities. It really is that child. The old headmaster also recognized Fan Yu. Other than surprise, there was also a trace of guilt on his face. Principal, are you sure you had nothing to do with Fan Yu being bullied at school? Chen Ge pulled the principal to his side. I'm the principal of New Yong High School. Anything that happens at the school has something to do with me. How can I not be responsible for his bullying? The old headmaster did not understand what Chen Ge meant. What I mean is, did you do anything to harm him directly or indirectly? For example, he asked you for help, but you ignored him because you were too busy. If he had asked me for help, this tragedy wouldn't have happened. The old headmaster looked at Fan Yu. He is a good child. Since Fan Yu being bullied has nothing to do with you, our plan will not be affected. Chen Ge's eyes were determined. I will do my best to make you the school's headmaster and lead the school's consciousness. You've seen the situation here. None of them can bring salvation and relief to the children. Only you can. Quote. I can't do that either. Every child has their own obsession, and it is too difficult to free them from it. At least, you won't lead them down the wrong path and cause them more harm. There is no one more suitable than you, sir, Chen Ge said seriously. You can treat this place as the second Muyang High School. Okay, I'll try my best. A bitter smile hung on the old headmaster's face. He was just a half-red spectre, and his competitors were all top-red spectres. There are 13 paintings in the art room, representing the 13 people who have the right to become the door pusher. We don't need to care about most of them. We only need to pay attention to the painter and Chong Wenyu. Chen Ge had been planning since he entered the school, and now it was the most crucial moment of his plan. Then, what should we do next? The old headmaster was nervous. We should find a safe place to hide first. Chong Wenyu dared to trick the school's consciousness, so he probably made a deal with one of the monsters from the Red City. This school is going to be in chaos, so we have to preserve our power. Chen Ge had the students who followed him stay together, and they walked down the corridor to find a safe place. The blood fog rushed at the school of the afterlife. The mirror above them covered the school, but it could barely stop the monsters from the Blood City from entering. However, this blood mirror was made from the consciousness of many students. When the consciousness collapsed, it only took an instant for it to collapse. On the other side of the mirror, more and more students started to recall their lost memories. Various negative emotions surged in, and bloody handprints appeared on the wall between the two campuses. Many strange and scary things started to happen. This is their true appearance. Behind every beautiful memory is endless pain and despair. Fate is just so fair and cruel. Chong Wenyu swung her legs around. She looked at everything with a happy expression. Fate. The painter slowly raised his head. His lips moved, and he said, "Do you know what color fate is?" "I don't know. Probably red. I like red." Chong Wenyu turned back to look at the painter. Just from the tone of their conversation, those who didn't know better would think they were good friends. Fate is white. Whatever paint you use on it, it will turn into that color. The painter's voice could calm people down. So, you use the school's consciousness to change their memories. Just to preserve the beautiful moment for them. How do you know that is what they want? What right do you have to change other people's most precious things? Chong Wenyu's memory seemed to have been tampered with by the painter as well. That should be one of the reasons for their conflict. Don't think that just because the school's consciousness recognizes you the most, you can treat yourself as this school's god. Facing Chong Wenyu's accusation, the painter did not argue. He lowered his head to pick up the broken canvas. There is no God behind the door. Even if there is, it is just the devil's kindness. Quote. When he said the last word, a pungent smell of blood drifted out from somewhere on the canvas. The top floor of the lab building was the place closest to the sky, and it was also a place where one could touch the other world. The normal school started to change. More and more students turned into blood vessels, turning into ugly monsters. They wailed in the once peaceful school. They, who had gotten used to the good life, did not expect to experience such pain. Every second that the blood mirror that covered the school existed, several blood vessels would shatter, and the memory contained in them would disappear. The last trace of the owner of the memory would be wiped away. The painter's campuses were collapsing, and as the owner of both campuses, the painter was standing on the top floor of the lab building. He picked up the broken drawing board, and as he raised his hand, dark red blood appeared on the drawing board. You want to kill me? Chong Wenyu sat at the edge of the building with her legs dangling in the air. You have gained the approval of half of the students, but you cannot control the other half. If you kill me, the school's consciousness will be consumed by the city. I have not killed anyone, but many people have died because of me. I use the drawing board to record their final appearance, and I occasionally take it out to look at when I'm free. The painter grabbed the corner of the drawing board, and his pale fingers dipped into the blood that had not dried. He did not seem to care about what Chong Wenyu had said. He was talking to himself, saying what he wanted to say. You have not killed anyone. Chong Wenyu crossed her legs and extended her arms. You can always find a reason for your actions, and that is what I hate the most about you. The smell of blood on the roof thickened. Chong Wenyu stood up, and her eyes burned with red fire. Do you know why I came back after escaping from this school? The painter shook his head. I saw some of the children's families outside the door. They were guarding the unconscious children, waiting for them to come home. Chong Wenyu stood at the edge of the building. Above her head was the reflection of the blood-red world, and below her feet was the campus that was crumbling into blood vessels. But I know that is impossible. The door has bound them. It looks like salvation, but in reality, it has only sent them deeper into despair. Chong Wenyu's black hair fluttered in the wind. Her right eye pulsed with a red light, but her left eye that had been gouged out leaked black blood. That's why I've returned. I can't save all the children here. The only thing I can do is destroy this door, send you all to your graves, and then prevent our story from repeating itself on other people. Blood blossomed on her dress, and the expression on Chong Wenyu's face turned crazier. No matter what, I have to destroy this place. Can you do that? After losing the school's approval, you will become weaker, and the things you have learned at this school will eventually be returned to it. The painter's tone was as calm as if he was asking if the girl had eaten breakfast. I don't need the school's approval. As long as someone at this school approves of me, that will be enough. The atmosphere at the top of the building became tense, and Chong Wenyu prepared to fight the painter. It's good to have your own thoughts, but why did you lure the ghosts from that city? The painter's eyes glanced past Chong Wenyu to look at the red city outside the school. Fighting for the school's approval to become the new door pusher is something between us. Why did you drag them into this? Are you still afraid of me? Quote. I know you won't make the same mistake twice, so I only have this chance. Before you become the new door pusher, I have to destroy this place. Destroying the school's door, luring the ghosts from the red city, contacting all the red specters who have resisted me and have the right to become the door pusher, is that your whole plan? The painter's hand moved on the drawing board. Actually, I'm curious how you managed to open the school's door. All the specters are suppressed by the school's consciousness, and no one can get close to the door. That should be the only thing that I didn't expect. Specters will be targeted, but that might not be the case for living people. Chong Wenyu wiped away the black blood that leaked out from her left eye. I found the door pusher's left eye at the school. I've been hiding it outside the door all these years, waiting for this day. After all, he was the one who pushed open the door, and only his eye can trick the school's consciousness. Therefore, I had a living person hold the door pusher's left eye and push the door open a gap. The blood on Chong Wenyu's dress was blooming. This top red specter was showing her real appearance. However, probably because she was in the middle of the school created by the painter, she was completely suppressed, and her presence fluctuated. I used years to turn this graveyard into a heaven, but you used years to think about how to destroy everything. The painter sighed slowly. Looks like I really can't have any hope in you. To focus on your own things, I can only make you shut your mouths forever. Stop lying to yourself. No one can build a heaven. What you're trying to cover up is hell. Chong Wenyu stood at the spot closest to the sky. Her shirt was almost completely red. Painter, from the first time I saw you, I knew that the school's consciousness would approve of you because in this school, only you believe that behind the door is not a cage of despair. However, I didn't expect that one day, you would reach this stage, almost controlling everything. Quote. This time, the painter did not answer. His pale fingers moved on the drawing board. What are you doing? Chong Wenyu's dress was only missing her heart, and it was not completely red. I'm painting. The painter raised the old drawing board in his hand. I like to paint how they look before they die. On the broken drawing board was a woman in a red dress. One of her eyes was red like blood, and the other had been gouged out, leaving behind a dark hole. What kind of death do you think she likes? The painter used his bloody finger to stab at the woman's heart. Chong Wenyu, who stood at the edge of the building, fell backward at the same time, and a mad laugh came from her lips. Then, why do you think I'm purposely stalling for time? In the laughter, Chong Wenyu morphed into a flower of blood. Her body shattered into countless blood vessels, and only a dress that was dyed red was left in the air. You know my ability, so you hid your heart in advance? The painter looked at Chong Wenyu on the board. She lost her body, but she used up one of my paintings. The painter did not look at the dress in the air but turned to the school's front gate. In the thick fog, a new threat was walking out from the Red City. I have a house of horrors, please collect. I have a house of horrors updated the fastest. His heart raced and a thumping sound came from his chest. It was painful, cold, and suffocating. He opened his mouth, and a metallic taste stuck in his throat. This is the memory that I've lost? This is the taste of a memory? Similar voices echoed around the school. Broken monsters walked out from the corner of the school. Their eyes were filled with venom, and they cried as they screamed. More cracks appeared on the mirror that covered the school. As the students regained their lost memories, the blood vessels that formed the mirror started to go out of control. Basically, the mirror was made from the consciousness and memory of the students at the school of the afterlife. The negative emotions and the forgotten memories became the power of the specters behind the door, and it was they that formed the school's consciousness, an existence that surpassed a red specter. The school's consciousness had been protecting the school, but that day, due to Chang Wenyu's betrayal and other reasons, it had suffered a heavy blow that it had never suffered before. Everything has returned to square one. The painter held the broken canvas with one hand. His other hand slowly reached toward the collapsing blood-red mirror above his head. My canvas is broken. It did not feel good to have their memories taken away. The innocent students on the campuses were now as evil as they were innocent. Slowly, blood vessels started to leave the surface of the mirror. The buildings on the east and west campuses started to blur. The dream that the painter had weaved for everyone slowly dissipated. The blood curtain that covered the sky started to fall. The two inverted campuses were about to overlap, and the focal point of the overlap was the lab building that the painter was in. He stood between the mirror and reality, just like his current situation. The blood world was filled with students who did not agree with him and the threat from the Red City, and the two campuses were filled with students who were slowly regaining their memories and trying to catch the culprit. The worlds on both sides of the mirror were squeezing on the painter, but his expression did not change that much. The drawing board is broken, so I'll just have to find another one. This world never lacks drawing boards and paint, but it lacks painters. When the blood mirror was about to shatter, the drawing board in the painter's hands disintegrated into dust. This seemed to be some kind of signal, and the buildings on the campuses started to bleed red. A blindfolded man walked out of the Eastern Campus Library, and a red and black body floated to the surface of the man-made lake on the Western Campus. The door of one of the male dormitory rooms on the Eastern Campus was pushed open. A short boy pulled out the nail from the back of his hand, and there was a student ID next to him. There were only 3 words written on it: Lin Cece. The last building was the trash transfer station between the two campuses. One of the closed doors was pushed open by a monster on all 4s. The pungent smell of foul odor rushed into his nostrils, and countless evil thoughts and negative emotions gushed out. The 4 buildings were like 4 fulcrums. The mirror surface was still collapsing, and the giant curtain was still falling. However, under their support, they temporarily avoided overlapping with the blood-red world. It's useless. The foundation of the campuses is the school's consciousness. If the school outside the mirror collapses, the mirror will still shatter. Yin Hong looked at the broken mirror in the sky, and her eyes were frighteningly red. The school's consciousness is able to fight against a greater red specter, and that is why the school was not consumed by the city. Now, the two people who have the most approval from the school have split, and reality and the reflection have been separated. This place is doomed. Bang! The front door of the school of the afterlife was completely blown open. Black branches started to appear in the fog. They looked like plants or the arms of mummies. Everyone who touched them was sucked into the fog and disappeared. Chen Ge, should we leave through that well? The school is being targeted by the Red City. They probably won't expect there to be an exit inside the school. It was not that the old headmaster was cowardly, but in this situation, a half-red specter like him could not change the situation. The old headmaster was kind, but after so many things, he was no longer blindly kind. If we leave, the school will really be finished. Chen Ge gritted his teeth and looked at the painter and Chang Wenyu's bloody dress. Everyone is talking among themselves. Who do you think pushed open this door? Chen Ge. The old headmaster realized that Chen Ge's tone was not right. Are you all right? Of course, I'm fine. I'm in a better condition than I've ever been. Chen Ge narrowed his eyes. It's still the same thing. The sealed scenario behind the door belongs to the door pusher. Whoever kills the door pusher will be the new owner. The old headmaster did not understand what Chen Ge meant. He knew that Chen Ge was not someone who would give others peace of mind, so he did not think much of it. He merely suggested softly, how about we head to the well first? Okay, With an escape route, we'll be able to move more easily. When Chen Ge spoke, he kept his eyes on the lab building. Many clues in my mind have been connected. It was not an accident that we entered the school of the afterlife. I still have something to discuss with the person who used me. Then, can we go to Muyang High School now? The old headmaster was afraid that Chen Ge would do something rash again. He hoped that Chen Ge would be honest, but he soon realized that he was wrong. It's fine to go that way, but before that, I need to capture that person. Chen Ge pointed at Chang Ji-yu, who was running on the field. The school's consciousness was split. The painter was held back by Chang Wenyu, and Chang Ji-yu, who had opened the front door, was running toward the education block with the help of the school's doctor. The doctor was probably up to no good. He must have made some kind of deal with Chang Wenyu, but he was afraid that Chang Wenyu would break the deal, so Chang Ji-yu was his hostage. It's not a good idea to meet them now, right? After I get him, we'll leave immediately and try to avoid a direct confrontation. Chen Ge had a reason to capture Chang Ji-yu, but he could not tell anyone about this reason because the black phone was his biggest secret, and this secret was probably in Chang Wenyu's hands. Opening the comic, Chen Ge released all the red specters. Make your move when you have the chance. Whoever stands in your way will be the enemy. At the same time, Chang Ji-yu and the red specter, doctor, from the school's hospital had escaped back to the education block. It was as if they had planned this beforehand. Just as Chang Ji-yu and the rest returned, the sound of crying came from the front gate of the school. The crying drowned out the students' screams and wails, and it entered every student's ears. A shadow appeared in the fog. She stood at the front door but did not enter the school. However, the fog that rushed into the school thickened, and there were more monsters mixed in. That wasn't the end. Not long after, chewing sounds could be heard amidst the cries. Next to the first figure, another ferocious and monstrous black figure appeared. The fog blocked everything, and the people in the building could only get a blurry look. Just looking at the two shadows from afar, fear and helplessness rose in their hearts. That's the thing from the Red City. It was rude to call a thing that one met for the first time, but after Chen Ge saw what happened to Dr. Gao after entering the Red City, he no longer treated the monsters in the city as people that he could communicate with. The sound of crying and chewing echoed in everyone's ears. Before they even saw them, many students were already afraid. Chen Ge, this is not good. The school's consciousness has split. These students won't be able to hold on for long. Yin Hong knew the school of the afterlife very well. The door attracted the despairing souls and lingering spirits of the children. Some of them are wandering souls, and some are still in real life, but their consciousness is locked behind the door. These students are very weak, and they are the foundation and the bottom of the school. Chen Ge understood what Yin Hong meant. The foundation of the school's consciousness was actually very weak, but it was not obvious normally. Now that there was chaos, the school's consciousness would soon reveal its weakness, and then it would attract more monsters. After all, the school's consciousness is a being above a red specter. There are many things that we cannot understand. Don't underestimate the Red City, but don't underestimate the school's consciousness. A top red specter was scary enough, and Chen Ge could not imagine how strong a greater red specter would be. He had a feeling that even though the school's consciousness had split due to Chang Wenyu and the painter, it had a trump card that he did not know about. The door has grown into a giant after losing its door pusher. It can't put all its hope on the children. Bai Cholan would always support Chen Ge. He did not want to help the students from the school of the afterlife. From his perspective, other than the employees at the haunted house, everyone had the possibility of becoming their enemy. There was no need to put his own people in danger for their own sake. But find Chang Ji-yu first, and then we'll talk about the rest. Chen Ge had Xu Yin guard him, and everyone rushed to the first floor where Chang Ji-yu and the doctor were. Chang Wenyu paid a heavy price to stall the painter. Even if her heart is still there, it will take some time for her to recover. This is my chance. The blood-red fog poured into the school, and the black plants that looked like mummies' arms crawled into the building through the broken windows. The whole school was like a heart with dead blood vessels. The students in the corridor scattered, and the children hiding in the classrooms were not in a good situation either. The black things knocked on the glass windows, and more cracks appeared on the undamaged windows. If you don't want to die, come with me. Chen Ge took the students along the way into the team. But that did not affect the big picture. The screams of lingering spirits echoed all over the school. The safe haven that once housed wandering souls had turned into a cage surrounded by thorns. The three red specters led the way, and Chen Ge's group reached the first floor of the education block as fast as they could. The blood fog rushed in through the broken door, and it was even more shocking from here. Found him. At the corner of the corridor that led to the hospital, Yinhong stopped the doctor and Chang Ji-yu. His left eye was bleeding, and Chang Ji-yu was covered in wounds. He was on his last breath. A living person has opened the door. Even if he doesn't die, he will lose a layer of skin. Chen Ge stared at Chang Ji-yu in the doctor's hand. Put down Chang Wenyu's brother, and you can go. Chen Ge did not beat around the bush and said directly that he wanted Chang Ji-yu. Are you her other trump card? The doctor was covered in blood. He had taken the school's attack head-on, so he was not in good condition. If you don't want to, you can stay. Chen Ge's attitude was clear. He would capture Chang Ji-yu no matter what. I'll pass. Hopefully, Chang Wenyu will fulfill her promise. The doctor dropped Chang Ji-yu in the corridor, but his eyes wandered to Bai Cholan, who was behind Chen Ge. The mirror that your friend is carrying looks familiar. Do you want to take a look? No, I just want to remind you that there is a mirror similar to it in the hospital's last sick room. There is a demon trapped inside that mirror. He is full of lies and scary power. He is a madman that escaped from some hospital. The doctor slowly retreated. If you don't want the people around you to be hurt, you'd better not believe anything he says. The doctor was talking about the mirror that imprisoned the non-smiler. Then, he disappeared down the corridor. Such a scary person. Seeing the doctor leave, Yinhong sighed in relief. She did not want to fall out with the doctor. As one of the earliest students at the school, she knew how scary the doctor was. Does he make you feel dangerous? Chen Ge also realized that there was something wrong with the doctor. When he got close, Shu Yin and the headless woman stopped him at the same time. Who can guarantee that they will never fall sick? Furthermore, he is the only doctor at the school. Yinhong's words seemed to be hinting at something. Who is this living person? He opened the school's front door, and he is still alive. Quote. He can be considered a friend of mine. Chen Ge squatted down before Chang Ji-yu. I've done everything that you and your sister asked me to do. Now, can you tell me where Chang Wenyu is? The dying Chang Ji-yu saw Chen Ge. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Black blood leaked out from the corner of his lips, and his body temperature was frighteningly low. Using all his energy, he raised his arm to point at the painter behind the mirror outside the window. She hid her heart in the two campuses built by the painter. When Chang Ji-yu heard what Chen Ge said, he shook his head and kept pointing at the painter. Only the painter can guess that. Or, Chen Ge's eyelids twitched. She hid her heart with the painter. Quote. Chang Ji-yu still shook his head, but his finger kept pointing at the painter until he fainted. Boss, what do we do now? Bai Cholan looked at Chang Ji-yu on the ground and could not make up his mind. He was worried that Chen Ge would try something dangerous. Go to Muyang High School first. After ensuring the well is fine, we'll wait quietly. Chen Ge slowly tightened his fists. Now is not the most dangerous time. There's no hurry to leave. When Chen Ge's group retreated toward Muyang High School, the crying and chewing sound that came from the door disappeared at the same time. A third figure appeared in the fog. From afar, there was nothing special about him. However, this last figure was standing between the other two figures. There really is an ownerless door. The man's hoarse voice came from the school gate. When he spoke, even the wind in the fog stopped blowing. The whole school only had his voice. After studying it for a long time, the man raised his left leg and walked toward the school. Pa! The step seemed to shatter some kind of restraint. The steel gate of the school slammed into the walls on both sides. The last man's foot landed on the ground and entered the school. Countless spirits screamed in fear, and the mirror that corresponded to the school gate started to crumble at an unbelievable speed. The students in the school ran for their lives, but where could they run to? Running only delayed the destruction of their souls. The monsters in the Red City did not need the school's consciousness, everything was food for them. The school's front door slammed into the wall, and the walls on both sides were crushed by the black brambles. The man stepped into the school with his left foot, and the blood fog behind him was like a red wave. This is much easier than I expected. The fog shrouded his body, and only a blurry figure could be seen. His head slowly turned, and in the end, he seemed to be looking at the blood-colored mirror above his head. Every specter behind the door is building hell, and only you are building heaven. The man's voice was mocking. If you have seen heaven, you wouldn't have been abandoned behind the door. He raised his feet and continued forward. No specter from the school stood out to stop him, be it the wandering specters that were taken in by the school or the red specters that were born there. More cracks appeared on the mirror in the sky, and the buildings in the mirror kept collapsing. Even with the support of Lin Cece and the rest, they could not change anything. Looks like there is no need to hold on anymore. The painter stood on the top floor of the lab building and looked at the collapsing campuses. He suddenly raised his hand. His fingertip touched the sky of the campuses. It was a mirror made from endless memories and consciousness. This is not heaven. This is just one of my paintings, a painting that I haven't decided on a name for. His fingertip passed through the mirror, and blood vessels rushed toward the painter. When his finger reached out from the other side of the mirror, it was already covered in blood. This painting is ruined. I'll just paint another one. I need a new canvas and new paint. His body passed through the mirror, and the painter's shirt was completely dyed red. The painter of the campuses gave off the feeling of a dead sea, silent and calm, but he gave off a different feeling when he walked out from the mirror. It was hard to describe, and his every move made people unwilling to get close to him. After the painter left the campuses, the mirrors in the sky started to fall in large pieces like it was raining blood. Has he given up? The person in the fog did not move forward immediately. He lifted his head to look at a corner of the school like he had smelled something. The painter's figure had disappeared from the lab building, but every piece of mirror that fell from the sky reflected the painter's image. When the first mirror landed on the ground, it dissolved into numerous blood vessels, and the painter appeared before the education block. He stood alone in the empty space before the school of the afterlife. The blood fog rushed at his body, and the black brambles crawled around him, but he did not dodge like the other specters. The school's consciousness has already split. You've personally destroyed your last hope, and Chong Wenyu is heavily injured. How are you going to stop an entire city alone? The man in the fog stopped moving. You can be like Chong Wenyu and escape this place. I know there has to be another exit in this school. Exit. The painter's shirt was dyed red, and blood vessels weaved on his body to cover his chest. Aren't you standing at the exit of the school? The shards of the mirror fell on the painter's body, leaving bloody marks. The distance between heaven and earth had never been so short that there was only one person between them. I am the specter that everyone at this school is afraid of, so when they are afraid, I will stand before them. His arms opened, and arms formed from blood vessels reached out from behind the painter. They dispersed the fog and held up the mirror above his head. Come at me together. I will use your blood to complete my new painting. Without saying anything else, the painter who held up the sky charged toward the front door. Countless consciousnesses roared following the painter's voice. The world inside the mirror was roaring, and endless negative emotions flowed into the painter's body like a black waterfall. I don't like this, but who in this world can always be the version of themselves that they like? Many ghastly faces appeared on the painter's body. They tore at the painter's body, injecting all their pain and hatred into the painter. Who hasn't absorbed nutrition from the bones in the grave? Who hasn't grown in flesh and blood? I've seen many hells, but because of that, I have to find heaven. Black cracks appeared on the red shirt, and the ghastly faces bit on the body under the red shirt. Each crack hid chilling despair, and human faces started to grow from each wound. What kind of power is this? Why is it different from what Chong Wenyu said? The man's voice in the fog was different from before. Things had changed. You've drawn those dead people on your body. You can obtain their power. No, you've suffered their pain and despair. They're the ones eating your body. Quote. His question had no answer, and the painter charged into the fog. I just want the ownerless door. Why are you stopping me? The man in the fog waved his arms, and the two figures behind him moved forward. Wherever the painter passed, the fog parted, and the two monsters that walked out from the Red City revealed themselves. One of them was wearing a goat mask. Her body was perfect, and her skin was painted with red patterns. She looked weak, and tears kept leaking out from under the mask. The woman did not seem to have her own face. The mask seemed to have become a part of her body. The other monster was large. He looked like a man and a pig at the same time. He stood on all fours, and one could tell that he was human. He wore a pig mask, and the scariest thing was that the man had a mouth that was half a meter long, and the mouth was filled with sharp teeth. Kindness, evil, hold him back. I'll go find the door. The man in the middle seemed to have confidence in the two monsters, but before he took the first step, the woman in the goat mask suddenly stopped crying, and the tears that flowed out from under the mask turned into blood. Kindness. When the man in the fog turned back to look, he saw the woman standing where she was. Her goat mask slowly fell off, and her head fell to the ground. Kindness. The blood fog that had been chased away instantly rushed in from all directions to protect evil on the other side. The man only dared to get close to Kindness after ensuring that he would not be seen by the painter, but it was too late. I don't like Kindness because my Kindness has never been treated kindly. The painter tore off a piece of skin that was wrapped in blood vessels, and it was a drawing of the woman with the goat mask. Now there are only two left. The man in the fog did not expect the subordinate that he valued the most to be killed so easily. He was reminded of what Chong Wenyu had told him. The painter had a very scary power. With a certain price, he could draw a person or specter into his painting and take away everything from them. This power had a great limitation, but Chong Wenyu did not tell him what the limitation was. She only said that the painter could only use this power 3 times in a short period of time, which meant that he could only draw 3 people. Kindness' soul did not vanish. She was just taken away from her. The man in the fog inspected the sheep-headed woman's body condition. He knew that a red specter's soul would not leave any trace in this world, but Kindness' body would remain. If Chong Wenyu is not lying, and the painter can only use this power 3 times in a short period of time, then there is nothing to be afraid of. The man put down Kindness' body. To stall the painter, Chong Wenyu used up one of the man's powers, and earlier, Kindness used up one of his paintings. Now, he only has one chance to use his power. The thick blood fog obscured their vision. The leader had been hiding in the fog, and so far, he had not revealed his true face. A very scary ability, but it is meaningless in the face of absolute numbers. When he finishes the third painting, it will be the time for his soul to dissipate. The fog that blocked evil slowly dissipated. The man practically delivered evil to the painter. From his perspective, exchanging evil's life for one of the painter's paintings was worth it. When I push open the ownerless door and become a greater red specter, I will find what you've lost and help you be reborn from your own dead bodies. The man's words seemed to be directed at evil. After the man said that, the pig monster charged at the painter like it had gone mad. The fog churned, and black liquid leaked out from evil's mouth. His whole body reeked of foul odor. Unlike Kindness, there was nothing about this monster that made people like him. The painter's special power is powerful, but his real body is not that strong. Evil is the perfect counter to him. If only Kindness was still here. With the help of Kindness, the combination of good and evil, even a greater red specter would be able to stop him for a while. The man in the blood fog could control the fog in the world behind the door. Ignoring everything else, just this power alone was mysterious enough. Unfortunately, he probably saw the problem, so he wasted a chance to paint to heavily injure Kindness. The fog gathered around him, and the man was like the eye of the storm. He attracted all the fog around him to enter the school of the afterlife. The man and evil approached the education block from 2 different directions. Black thorns paved the way under their feet. The man in the fog purposely avoided the painter, but to his surprise, the painter, whose body had changed drastically, moved to stand between him and evil. You want to fight both of us at the same time. The man in the blood mist was very strong. He had not shown his true face, so his identity and power were a mystery. If not for the painter's terrifying power, this battle might have ended a long time ago. The painter did not waste words, he used his actions to prove everything. The arms behind his back bulged under the stimulation of the negative emotions, and the presence of the painter continued to grow. He wanted to gather the school's consciousness, absorb all the anxiety and despair, and turn all the students' negative emotions into his own weapon. A person's emotions contained an extraordinary power. Because of this, obsessions were born, and because of this, the gate appeared. The tragedy that a red specter can endure is limited. Without the door's approval, you will not be able to handle the negative emotions that have accumulated in the school. You will lose your mind and explode. The man in the fog waved his arms again, and more shadows appeared around the school. There are many monsters in that city. They are twisted and crazy, and they are all after this school. Even if you can stop evil in me, so what? As long as you are held back, the school's consciousness will be consumed. The longer you are held back, the more consciousness will disappear, and as the consciousness disappears, you will become weaker. Quote. The man in the fog did not want to fight, but the painter did not give him the chance to speak. Bang! A large piece of the blood mirror above his head shattered. One of the painter's arms grabbed the broken mirror and stabbed it at evil. The moment the mirror fell off, it turned into many crying consciousnesses. They became the painter's blade, and when he swung it, a bloodlight appeared. The mirror cut through evil's body, cutting open the pig's mask and tearing open the large mouth on the side of evil's body. However, just as the mirror was about to cut through the other side of the mouth, a soft sound came from the mouth. Countless teeth bit on the mirror, and black liquid dripped on the mirror. The mirror made from the students' memories shattered instantly, and the children's shadows were swallowed by the large mouth. Greed is a type of evil. It can eat many things, and the more it eats, the stronger it becomes. The large mouth was rapidly healing. He swallowed the mirror and bit the painter's arm. You want to swallow me as well. The mirror in the sky had already shattered, and the buildings had become illusions. Only 4 places were not that affected. At that moment, the painter reached his arm toward one of them, the trash transfer station between the eastern and western campuses. True evil is not the ugliness of the body or the flaw in human nature, but a kind of purposeless innocence. Pure evil is like the black on my drawing board. It doesn't have any other thoughts. It's cold and evil. It's all because it's black. Quote. The arm behind the painter grabbed the trash transfer station in the mirror. The monster on all 4s destroyed the door of the last room in the transfer station and then escaped in a hurry. The mirror shattered, and one of the pivots was destroyed. The sin that had been accumulated on the campuses surged into the painter's body. With his face twisted, he used his body as the medium to shove the sin and curse into evil's mouth. The souls of sin were screaming. They did not expect the end of their short journey to be a large, stinking mouth. Screaming, begging, cursing, none of the words could move the painter. I am the painter. I need white, and I need black. As long as I can complete the final painting, it does not matter what color I use. Evil's body expanded, and the painter's expression twisted. The calmness on his face slowly disappeared. The evil spirits in the last room were all locked up by him. They were trash that could not be used, the darkest and scariest part of human nature. If you want to eat, then I'll let you eat all you want. Even in the world behind the door, there were not many specters as crazy as the painter. He was different from other monsters, he could not be judged as good or evil. No one knew what he was thinking, and no one knew what he would do next, but one thing was for sure, this red specter was very scary. To achieve his goal, he would stop at nothing. He did not care about other people's opinions, and he had no morals. He did everything because he felt he should do it. This kind of person was scary, and the man in the fog understood that. The wind with the smell of blood swept through the sky, and screams echoed throughout the school, but be it evil or the painter, neither of them moved. Evil bit on the painter's arm. His stomach was bloated, and black veins popped on his pig face. His body started to lose control. The painter was not doing so well. He used his body as a vessel to direct all the sin at the school to evil's mouth. He wanted to stuff evil to death and deal with the sin at the school. That was a good idea, but the problem was that he was the vessel. All the sin would be injected into the painter's body before entering evil's mouth. This was a battle of wills. Whoever could not withstand it first would end up in an incomparably miserable state. Black veins popped on his face, and there seemed to be snakes swimming inside them. They pulsed like they could burst at any moment. In that situation, the painter turned to look at the man in the fog. Layers of fog blocked his vision. The man knew that the painter could not see him, but he still felt guilty. He was afraid of the painter's power. Are all the dirty things in the city like you? The painter's expression was scary. Menacing was not enough to describe it. You only know how to hide in the fog. Do you not even have the courage to face your own desire? You've become more talkative, which means that you've become weaker. The man in the fog did not care what the painter said. He controlled the fog to cover his body. I only want that door. You will never find that door. Even if the door is before you, you won't be able to see it. The painter spoke as if to maintain his rationality. His face was completely twisted, and he was scarier than any monster he had painted. Endless sin and negative emotions rushed into his body, and the pain that all the students at the school of the afterlife had experienced reappeared in his mind. There were many things in life that could pierce one's heart. It could be a sentence or an incident, but they were like nails that pierced into one's heart. On the surface, he was still smiling, but as long as his heart was still beating, the wound would be affected, and black blood would flow out from time to time. It was not difficult to pull out the nail in one's heart, but even if one really let go, after the nail was pulled out, it would still leave an ugly wound. The more painful it was, the deeper the wound. The painter could not heal the wound in everyone's heart, so he could only pull the nails out first and then erase the children's related memories. If one did not think about it, it would not hurt. The painter had helped every child on both campuses, leaving only the good for them. The nails that symbolized pain were thrown into the trash collection center. The more unbearable the memories were, the deeper they were buried. These nails would not disappear just because their owners forgot them. In the end, they were also a part of their memories. Only with pain and sadness could life be considered complete. The painter had not figured out how to deal with these trash, and at that moment, evil appeared. I seem to have been wrong about one thing. Heaven is not devoid of sin. When the sun falls, there will be shadows. Perhaps I can build a heaven in the dark, the painter mumbled to himself. It seemed that only by thinking would one not be lost. He was on the verge of collapse. When Dr. Gao suffered the sin behind the 3-star scenario's door, even with his power as a top red specter, he had almost collapsed. Now, the painter was suffering from the tragedy of a 4-star scenario. It was not easy for him to survive until now. This was a battle of wills. The painter was on the verge of madness, and evil was not doing well either. He could consume negative emotions and absorb tragedy and misfortune, but the conversion required time. He had not encountered something like this before. Before the painter, no one had spent years to extract all the sin from a 4-star scenario. Evil had a big appetite, but he could not swallow the whole school's misfortune. The monsters from the Red City had underestimated the school of the afterlife. Even though there was no complete greater red specter here, it was still a 4-star scenario that the black phone had raided. Evil spirits poured into the painter's body like a black waterfall, and then he sent them all into evil's mouth. Time lost its meaning behind the door. After who knew how long, evil's body started to change. His pig mask was pushed open, and his body expanded several times. That mouth is not the end. If you want freedom, go fight for it. Break it, and you can get everything you want. The painter knew what he had locked inside the trash collection center. It was the darkest side of this school. Evil's pressure was much greater than the painter's. He did not have time to catch his breath. Before the sin in his stomach could be digested, more evil spirits formed from darkness and despair crawled into his mouth. The eyes under the pig mask darted about anxiously, and a horrible sound came from his throat like a fish lover who had a fishbone stuck in his throat. The man in the fog had a bad feeling. He had to make a move to buy time for evil to digest. You heretic behind the door. The man finally decided to make his move. The fog morphed into a red storm, and the man stood in the eye of the storm. Let me tell you, how stupid it is to build a heaven in hell. Just as the leader moved, the painter reacted. The other arm behind his back reached toward Lin Cici's hostel. On the other side of the mirror, Lin Cici seemed to know that this day would come. He turned to look at his bedroom before leaving silently. The arm sliced through the mirror, and the second support was destroyed. Countless mirror fragments formed from memories and dreams fell, and every mirror reflected the painter's image. The wounds on his body were torn open, and the arms that reached out from the wounds were covered in black blood. They waved slowly. Every mirror here is my eyes. If I see you, I will take everything from you. The painter had never been afraid of anyone. His madness was beyond everyone's expectation, including Chen Ge. The arms grabbed evil and pierced into his swollen body. The painter ignored the man in the fog but tried his best to shove the sin and tragedy from the school into evil's body. The black waterfall surged, and after evil's body expanded to its limit, it finally exploded. Many specters crawled out from evil's body, and the whole school was covered in negative emotions. Depressed, dark, and covered in black blood, the painter tossed away evil's broken body. He stood in the middle of the school. I've destroyed kindness and tossed away evil. Now, you are the only one left. Come, let me paint for you. The broken mirrors fell like a storm. Above them was the broken sky, and around them was a thick blood fog. Below them were twisted black thorns. The whole school of the afterlife was the background, and before them was a blood-red city. All the scenes that could only be seen in nightmares became reality behind the door. Apocalypse was not enough to describe the tragedy of the school of the afterlife. Perhaps this was another hell. Evil's body burst, and many evil spirits escaped from his stomach. They danced around the school. They cursed Evil's broken body and everything that they saw. The heaven that the painter had worked so hard to build had completely collapsed at that moment. The sins that were buried deep inside the garbage transfer station regained their freedom, and the darkest things in the people's hearts escaped. They screamed, cursed, and used all kinds of extreme actions to tell the bystanders how dark human nature could be. They were the things that the painter had tried to hide, and now they were released by the painter. They took revenge on the surrounding ghosts, be it the students or outsiders. These things that escaped from the trash transfer station, even though everything they did was to vent their anger, at this special moment, they helped the painter share a lot of pressure. The monsters from the Red City came aggressively, but the most dangerous wave had been neutralized by the painter. He had used his special power to destroy kindness and used the negative emotions that the school had accumulated over the years to destroy evil. Now, there was only one enemy left. His arm was connected to the blood-red mirror. The painter had the approval of half of the students at the school, and that was one of the reasons he was able to survive until now. As long as he did not step out of the school, the painter would be able to unleash a scary power. Chong Wenyu could do that as well. Because the painter knew that, he wanted to kill Chong Wenyu the moment he arrived. The world behind the door was dangerous. The slightest mistake would cause one's soul to dissipate. The man in the fog had underestimated the painter, and that was why he had lost his advantage. He had lost both kindness and evil, but the man did not give up. From his perspective, this was an opportunity that he could not let go. He was able to leave the city in a short period of time to get close to the school of the afterlife, which meant that he lived at the edge of the city. There had to be monsters that were scarier than him in the city. If he could not take down the school of the afterlife in a short amount of time, once he attracted the attention of the monsters at the center of the city, the door would be taken away by other people. The storm formed by the blood mist slowly approached. The wounded painter looked at the center of the storm silently, and his eyes started to change. Blood vessels pulled at his pupils, and his dark eyes slowly melted, leaving only a deep black in his eye sockets. Do you think I won't be able to see you if you hide? Every piece of mirror that fell from the sky had the painter's shadow. His dark eyes stared in a certain direction. The storm came, but the painter did not dodge. He did not know what the enemy's power was, and he did not know how the enemy would attack. In this kind of situation, the best way to defend was to continuously attack, making it possible for the opponent to die at any time, making them unable to use their abilities. The painter was defenseless. He kept looking for an opening, but the man in the fog did not show any openings. The mirror shards that fell from the sky could not get close to the man. If he could not see, he would not be able to draw. That should be one of the painter's weaknesses. Your power comes from the school's consciousness. Since your fight with evil, you've been using the mirror in the sky. Your power comes from there, and it looks like the thing that I want is there as well. The man in the fog was cunning. He had not shown himself, but he had gathered more and more information in the dark. When he made his move, it would be when he was confident. The blood storm touched the mirror in the sky. The man did not fight the painter head-on. He was hiding in the storm to look for the door. You are very smart but also very stupid. Your greed is far beyond your ability. The painter moved the arm behind him and reached toward the mirror with the broken arm that had been bitten by evil. This time, his arm reached into the man-made lake on the western campus. The dead body that floated on the surface was facing downward, but when the painter's arm passed through the mirror and reached into the water, the body flipped and revealed its face. The face shocked everyone. It was the same as Fan Yu outside the door. Everyone's memory floats in their mind. That lake is the school's sea of memories. It contains all the students' most normal memories, including the things that I have forgotten. The painter's face was similar to Fan Yu, but due to the difference in presence, anyone would think that they were two different people. The arm that had been bitten by evil grabbed the body in the lake. The painter paused and then slowly tightened his fingers. The body dissolved into blood in the painter's palm, and it dripped into the lake drop by drop. The ordinary memories were stung, and the ordinary lake water became different from before. First, There were ripples, and then it became turbid. Blood-red bubbles appeared on the surface of the lake, and gradually, the entire lake turned the color of blood. This is a painting that I drew. It's better for me to destroy it myself. The painter's arm suddenly dropped, and the mirror exploded. The red lake water poured down. Various voices echoed in the school. The memory seemed to come alive, and the distance from the sky to the ground was their entire life. In that short period of time, the past turned into a fine rain that pierced through the storm and covered the school. The painter had stolen everyone's memory, and now he was personally returning them to them. The students at the school remembered many things that they had forgotten. These were the most boring moments of their lives, and they did not expect them to become memories that could not be cut off after death. It was these simple things that made up their different selves. The blood vessels in the mirror started to break again. The students' consciousness was shaken, and the mirror shook. Only 3 places on the campuses remained relatively stable. One was the lab where the painter had stayed, one was the library where the blindfolded man was, and the last place was the broken education block on the eastern campus. Lin Cece and the monster at the trash collection station had run into the library. There was no one in the education block on the eastern campus, but it was not affected. That was not normal. The door is hidden in the education block. The man in the fog rushed toward the education block, and this time, the painter did not stop him. The rain of memory fell into the blood storm. Other than the painter, no one noticed that every drop reflected the painter's shadow. His dark eyes stared at the center of the storm, and his scarred lips slowly opened. I see you. Every drop of rain was the painter's eyes. Combined with the painter's special power, he had the advantage at the school of the afterlife. No wonder Chong Wenyu did not dare face the painter head-on. The man in the blood mist flew toward the education block in the mirror, but the painter stood where he was. He stared at the eye of the storm, and the black arms that reached out from the wound stretched out to reveal the last piece of skin on his chest. The battle had been so intense, but the painter had used his arm to cover this piece of skin. He had fooled many people without realizing it. This was the only part of his body that did not have a wound. From that, one could see the intensity of the battle between red specters. Hiding in the storm, the man easily came to the mirror. No one stopped him, it was so smooth that it felt unreal. He felt a sense of anxiety in his heart. He turned back and saw that the painter had removed the last piece of canvas from his body. He saw me. The seed of anxiety grew in his heart, and it soon grew into thorny vines that crawled all over his body. The moment the man tore off the canvas, his speed increased, and his body morphed. He was like a nightmare. He had no shape, and everyone saw him differently. The painter's bloodied finger hovered over the canvas. His eyes were dark, and he did not move the brush for a long time. You're not a ghost. The rain poured. The painter's eyes seemed to see something, and a strange sentence came out of his lips. After he said that, the man at the center of the storm became even more hysterical. He stopped maintaining his human form and melted into the storm. He stirred up the blood fog around the school and used the most violent method to attack the mirror. The painter saw him, and he had guessed the location of the door. You're wearing a mask and using someone else's body as a disguise. What is hiding under this skin? The painter's eyes had turned completely black, and the white of his eyes had disappeared. He looked scary. There seemed to be an unexpected change. No one knew what the painter had seen to make him so shocked. Endless blood fog drifted out from the Red City. That seemed to be the source of the blood fog. All of the man's abilities were related to the blood fog. Of course, this could also be because he was purposely hiding his identity and only using these abilities. The blood tide surged on the ground, and the rain of memory poured down from the sky. A storm swept through the school. Everyone was dragged into it, and there was nowhere to hide. As the mirror in the sky continued to shatter, the school of the afterlife itself was affected. The blood on the walls faded, the windows were shattered, and the doors were rammed open. Many students found their lost memories, and they were swallowed by the storm in bitterness and confusion. With their memories awakened, to protect themselves, more and more students chose to join Chen Ge's group, and there were a few half-red specters among them. In the blood storm, the school of the afterlife was shaking. Other than a top red specter, no one could guarantee that they would not be hurt. It was dangerous to be alone at the school of the afterlife. Only by staying together could they increase the chance of survival. Other than Chen Ge's group, there were a few other places in the school where many students gathered. One was the lab building. It was the tallest building in the school, and it was occupied by the senior students. They wore dark uniforms, and they could be said to be the original residents of the school. There were even specters who had entered the door when the door pusher was still alive. In terms of power, they were not the strongest, but in terms of familiarity with the school and their ability to avoid danger, they were the strongest. The other place was the center of the school. That was the place with the most students, and with the teachers' help, they could protect themselves. The third place was the northern part of the school. Chen Ge had not explored that place before. It was mostly classrooms and some strange buildings that he could not tell what they were for. It was worth noting that there were several red specters among the students at the northern side, and there were a few old friends that Chen Ge was familiar with: Zhu Long, Zhou Tu, Wang Yicheng, and Zhang Ju. The four of them had been brought out by Chen Ge from the eastern and western campuses. After they parted at the library, they had not seen each other. Chen Ge had no idea why they would go to the northern side of the school. The four of them were covered in wounds, and they were in bad shape. It was not that they were risking their lives to protect their students. In the face of danger, any student could be of help. Everyone was using their bodies to resist the storm, but as red specters, they were the ones who suffered the most. The blood fog attacked, and the monsters hidden in the fog attacked the students. The students automatically gathered at these places. Chen Ge's group only saw everything when they left Muyang High School. The storm was raging, and every red specter was like a lighthouse in the middle of a storm. While the bright red inspired fear, it also brought with it a glimmer of hope. How many of them are at the northern side? The conflict continued. Chen Ge used his yin-yang vision to see Zhu Long and Zhang Ju, who were in the middle of a high-intensity battle. Zhou Tu and Wang Yicheng were half dead. Only the two red specters were struggling, and the situation was not looking good. "Sir, I'm afraid we cannot leave yet." Chen Ge looked at the northern side of the school. Zhang Ju and the rest were members of Chen Ge's Supernatural Phenomenon Research Society. Even though this society was something that Chen Ge had randomly created, the members did not know about it. "I'll go meet up with the red specters at the northern side. They are my friends." When the old headmaster saw the children being swallowed by the fog, he felt terrible. Even if Chen Ge did not say anything, he wanted to save more people, but he was powerless. Now that Chen Ge volunteered to save them, the old headmaster agreed without hesitation. "Okay, I'll go with you. The School of the Afterlife is a 4-star scenario. Even in such a mess, the door still hasn't appeared. This means that the situation is not at its worst. We should move now. With the help of those red specters, we'll become stronger." Chen Ge did not trust other people, but Chen Ge had personally brought Zhang Ju and the rest from the eastern and western campuses, so he knew them well. "Calm down, you two. Many people will die if we go now. I can feel something scary awakening in the city. If we don't leave before it wakes up, it'll be too late." Yin Hong did not care about other people's lives, she only cared about the people she loved and those who loved her. Shu Yin nodded as well. The wounds on his body were leaking blood, and his eyes were looking at the Red City. "We should be able to make it. No one expected things to turn out this way." Chen Ge did not hesitate. "Let's move as soon as possible." They turned back. When they passed the female dormitory, Chen Ge entered it again. He carried Zhang Ya's gift box and the bag of candy with him. He had to prepare for the worst. If he was really forced to leave the school, then he had to protect Zhang Ya's things and not leave them at the school. At Scholomance, everyone had their own agenda, and they made different choices for their own goals and benefits. The tragedy came. Chong Wenyu disappeared, the painter fought the monsters in the Red City, and the top red specters did not have the energy to care about other people. This gave Chen Ge a chance. But along with the opportunity, there was also danger. Yin Hong and Shu Yin could feel that something was awakening in the Red City. If they could not leave in a short time, when more monsters appeared, the School of the Afterlife would be sealed, and the well would be discovered. Quick! To reach the northern side of the school, one had to go through the center of the school. All the teachers and managers were gathered there, including Mr. Lei, who had met Chen Ge once before. "Don't panic. Stay in your classrooms." Mr. Lei and the other teachers tried their best to maintain order. They were happy to see Chen Ge. In this kind of chaos, the stronger one was, the more popular they were. You're here as well. I'll leave the few classrooms on the west side to you. If we work together, we'll definitely survive. Before the teacher finished, he saw Chen Ge and a few red specters walk past him and head toward the northern side of the school. Hey, where are you going? Don't waste your energy blindly. Relying on the school's defense is the best solution. Mr. Lei's voice was stern. Even though he did not like Chen Ge, he was saying that for Chen Ge's sake. I need to save them. Chen Ge's eyes scanned the students in the classroom. My friends are at the northern side. I cannot watch them be consumed by the fog. Are you crazy? Who knows how many monsters you'll run into if you cross the school. Even if there are red specters among you, they will gang up on you. They are not afraid of red specters. The other teacher next to Mr. Lei also tried to stop him. They did not want Chen Ge to leave. From their perspective, that was too risky and unnecessary. I know it's dangerous. Chen Ge's eyes scanned the classroom. The children inside were also looking at him. They were all curious about what kind of person he was, who would run out to save people under such circumstances. But that is the difference between you and me. After saying that, Chen Ge did not stay any longer. Those who are willing to follow me can follow behind me. Those who are unwilling, I won't force you. Take refuge here first, and we'll meet up at the center of the school later. After leaving behind a portion of the weaker students, Chen Ge's team sped up significantly. Looking at their backs as they left, the teachers had complicated looks in their eyes. What are you waiting for? Do you still have time to be in a daze? Dean Lei shouted at the teachers and then began to reinforce the doors and windows of the classroom. When the blood tide came, no one would be able to escape. Everyone was a lone boat that could sink at any time, so protecting themselves was not something shameful. Crossing the school was more difficult than Chen Ge expected. Visibility was low in the blood fog, and due to various reasons, the corridors inside the school seemed to have changed. From the field, Muyang High School looked close to the north of the school, but in reality, they had to walk a long way to get there. All the red specters were covered in blood, but it was still acceptable. After being showered with blood, the few employees from Haunted House had become stronger, especially Bai Cholan and foul odor. Bai Cholan had consumed Shang Qing's heart. Even though he had become a red specter, he was weaker than Xu Yin, who had found his heart on his own. However, after so many battles, he had been reborn. From Liwan City to the School of the Afterlife, Chen Ge had given him plenty of opportunities to train. Bai was no longer the gambler he used to be. The other surprise that came to Chen Ge was foul odor. After the boy found his red specter body, he had shown a very scary side. His power was related to smell. Without Chen Ge's reminder, the boy stood at the back of the group alone. All the monsters and specters that tried to ambush him were stopped by him, and it looked like he had it easy. Foul odor should still have the memory of his time at the haunted house. He was friendly toward Chen Ge and the other employees, but he hated the natives at the school. That seemed to be because he had been through some bad things at the school. With the red specters leading the way, Chen Ge's group moved very fast. After taking some detours, they successfully reached the northern side of the school. Here, they also saw another type of monster in the blood mist. It was about 5 meters tall, and it crawled down the corridor. Its body was covered in mouths, and the disgusting thing was that every mouth was filled with human teeth. They looked scary. What is this thing? No one there had seen it before. The monster before them seemed to have escaped from a child's nightmare. Its body was twisted. It looked like a human, but it could not be connected to a human. If it dares to block our way, we'll kill it. Chen Ge was confident. As long as it was not a top red specter, he did not care. Xu Yin, the headless woman, and Yin Hong walked at the front. The 3 red specters attacked at the same time, and they tortured the monster to death. Its ending was horrible. The few red specters had not seen this kind of monster before, so they were very careful. They tore it into pieces and used blood vessels to pierce through every part of its body. After the monster died, its body turned into dried blood vessels, but it was worth noting that even after it died, its heart was still beating. The heart was much smaller than a living person's heart, and it was painted with strange patterns. After Xu Yin removed the heart, he handed it to Chen Ge. This heart seemed to be very useful to specters. Seeing the desire in the eyes of the few red specters, Chen Ge thought about it and returned the heart to Xu Yin. It's yours now. If you see something like this next time, you can discuss how to split it among yourselves. Shu Yin held the slightly twisted heart, and excitement crossed his eyes. His pale fingers peeled open the heart, and there was a drop of black and red blood that had not coagulated yet. After absorbing this drop of blood, Shu Yin's wounds started to recover, and his body became more solid and scary. Seeing the drop of black blood, Chen Ge thought it looked familiar. He had seen it once at the Society of Strange Tales' building. It was stored inside a wooden box, and at the time, the box had been taken away by Zhangya. After consuming the black blood, Zhangya had been asleep for some time. The Society of Strange Tales has hunted monsters like this before. They've also entered the Red City. As the only surviving member of the Society of Strange Tales, there were still many things that Chen Ge did not understand. These secrets should all be in Dr. Gao's mind, but unfortunately, Dr. Gao had already gone mad, and there was no telling when he would wake up. If there's a chance, I should go to the Society of Strange Tales' nest to take a look. I haven't seen much before, so I might have missed some good stuff. After making up his mind, Chen Ge stopped thinking about it. He led the Red Spectres and continued to run to the north of the school. The Red City was very dangerous, but danger came hand in hand. There were many things in the city that were very helpful to Red Spectres and Spectres, like the monster earlier. However, monsters like the one earlier were not that common. Outside the education block, the painter and the man in the fog were still fighting. Chen Ge used this rare chance to cross the school and reach the northern side. Zhang Ju's group had created a lot of commotion when they fought the monsters, so it was easy to find them. Zhang Ju, Zhu Long, quote, blood vessels spread down the corridor, and the stench of blood rushed into their nostrils. Following the dripping sound of blood, Chen Ge arrived at one of the study rooms with the accompaniment of several red specters. Mr. Bai. Seeing Chen Ge, Zhang Ju and Zhu Long felt like they were about to cry. This was probably what they meant by a friend in need. Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you. Chen Ge did not purposely say anything. He merely repeated the truth. This place is not safe. Bring all the children here, and we'll leave together. Okay. Zhang Ju, Zhu Long, and Zhou Tu were all red specters, and Wang Yicheng was a half-red specter. Unfortunately, Zhou Tu and Wang Yicheng had lost their ability to fight, so the whole northern side relied on Zhang Ju and Zhu Long. The two sides successfully met up, and the number of red specters around Chen Ge increased to a scary level. Why didn't you wait for me after you left the library? Why did you run to the northern side of the school? Chen Ge had been curious about this. He did not think Zhang Ju's group would abandon him. We were attacked. Once we left the campuses, we were ambushed. It seemed to be arranged by the painter, and the enemy was also a red specter, Zhang Ju whispered. Zhang Ju whispered, I can't handle it alone. Thankfully, Zhu Long walked out from the mirror. The person who ambushed us did not expect us to have two red specters. After a moment of shock, he started to run. Then we started to chase after him until we ran to the northern side of the school. Quote. And then, where is he now? There were hidden red specters at the school of the afterlife, and that attracted Chen Ge's attention. If it was not Zhang Ju and Zhu Long who came out from the mirror first but he did, the consequences would be unimaginable. The other party was prepared in advance. It was very likely that he would be killed in one strike before he could summon Shu Yin. Just thinking about it made Chen Ge feel a lingering fear. Don't worry, that guy is now. Zhang Ju and Zhu Long pointed at their stomachs. Here. That's not what I'm worried about. The exit that Chong Wenyu arranged for me was blocked by another red specter. This means that someone has leaked the secret. Chen Ge waved his hands and stopped thinking about that. The painter is a very difficult opponent. Thankfully, we are not the ones facing him now. Chen Ge glanced out the window. Another enemy had been added to the list of enemies that he did not want to face. Other than Dr. Gao, the painter's name had also been added. This kind of person is suitable to be friends with, but it's not easy to be friends with them. Dr. Gao wanted to revive the dead, and the painter wanted to build a heaven behind the door. Each of their goals was stranger than the other. After successfully saving the trapped students, when Chen Ge led Zhang Ju and Zhu Long back to the center of the school of the afterlife, Mr. Lei finally shut his mouth. I won't force you to make a choice, but I will try my best to help you. However, my power is limited, and I can't do too much. I can only save those who are close to me. Chen Ge had saved the students on the northern side of the school. That earned him the recognition of many students, and many wanted to follow him. Compared to the red specters around Chen Ge, the teachers were obviously weaker. When Chen Ge prepared to leave and head to the western side of the school, many students expressed their willingness to go with Chen Ge. Before Chen Ge agreed, the teachers panicked. They knew very well that the school's consciousness was made up of every student. The more students around them, the safer they would be, and the stronger they would be. Calm down. Look at who stopped the scariest monster outside. You haven't been consumed by the city, and the person you should be grateful to is not this Chen Ge but the painter. Mr. Lei was annoyed. Only a top red specter can be relied on. No matter how good the others are, they are just struggling in vain. Mr. Lei was telling the truth, and that was something that Chen Ge could not argue with. He told the teachers to watch over the students and not let them out, but at that moment, Chen Ge stopped moving. How do you know I don't have a top red specter with me? After saying this, the surroundings seemed to become much quieter in an instant. You have a top red specter with you. Mr. Lei's eyes scanned every specter around Chen Ge, and he did not believe it. Why else do you think everyone is gathered around me? Chen Ge revealed a bright smile. You mean Chong Wenyu? Mr. Lei thought of something and frowned. It's not her. Technically speaking, this top red specter next to me is the real owner of this school. I'm here to help her take back what belongs to her. Chen Ge was not lying. His expression was calm. Being stared at by Chen Ge's cold gaze, Mr. Lei shivered. He saw the gift box that Chen Ge had been hugging tightly. He remembered that the box had been taken out by Chen Ge from one of the rooms in the female dormitory. A scary thought crossed his mind. Mr. Lei sucked in a cold breath, and the way he looked at Chen Ge changed. It's her. Chen Ge did not waste time. He smiled and walked toward the western side of the school with the gift box. Many students wanted to leave with Chen Ge, and Mr. Lei did not stop them this time. Sir, what should we do? The number of students in the classroom decreased, and the teachers were anxious. We promised the painter that no matter what happens, we will not let the students' determination waver. If that woman really returns, where will she hide? Mr. Lei did not seem to hear the other teachers and looked at Chen Ge's back. Mr. Lei, shush, something big is going to happen. Quote. More students left the central campus. The painter outside the education block sensed something. His dark eyes moved away from the man in the fog for the first time to look somewhere in the school. Chen Ge, who was running toward the western side of the school, suddenly felt his scalp go numb, and his back was covered in sweat. He turned to look out the window and met the painter's eyes. The painter's dark eyes were like a lifeless abyss, but Chen Ge's eyes reflected a blood-red world. The painter saw himself in Chen Ge's eyes. To save his friend, more and more students chose to follow behind Chen Ge. Most of them were there to escape, but from the moment they made that choice, something had changed. Is this the school's approval? The painter's gaze made Chen Ge feel like he had fallen into a frozen sea, but a warmth radiated from the students around him. It was a strange feeling like he was being wrapped in warm blood, but it was not uncomfortable. If a living person like me obtains the school's approval, who knows what kind of chaos it will cause, but there's no better way. Chen Ge turned his head and forced himself to stop paying attention to the painter. The chill on his back slowly disappeared. He didn't notice anything, right? After running 10 meters, Chen Ge looked out the window again. To his shock, the painter's dark eyes were still looking at him, but they were not looking at him but at his shadow. The mirror in the sky was almost consumed by the blood storm, but the painter did not move. He seemed to only be able to paint ghosts, and the man in the storm was not a ghost. He had not told anyone about that, not even Chong Wenyu. The mirror was becoming more unstable. The painter was able to fight 3 alone. Other than his own power, he had borrowed the school's consciousness. He kept dismantling the mirror that represented the school's consciousness and gained power close to the limit of a red specter. This is troublesome. The painter used blood vessels to wrap around the canvas that he had torn from his body. He dragged his twisted body toward the eye of the storm. The man in the fog did not know what was going on. When he saw the painter, he attacked the mirror even more crazily. Actually, this monster was scarier than everyone expected, but he had been holding back. To not be seen by the painter, he had been hiding in the fog. Greedy but cautious, always placing his own life above all else. Only someone with that kind of personality would be able to survive at the edge of the Red City. The blood storm cut through the painter's body like knives, but the painter did not care about that. His dark eyes stared at a certain spot in the storm. Everyone who looked into his eyes felt his eyes were scary, and the man in the storm was no exception. The painter's special power was too much of a shock to the man. Seeing the painter approach, he stopped hiding his power. An arm covered in black veins extended from the eye of the storm. The skin of the arm was not much different from that of a living person, but the black veins on it were terrifying. Black blood flowed through his body, making him look like a human and a ghost at the same time. This arm was familiar to everyone who saw it. It was as if they had seen it in a nightmare many years ago, but they could not remember the specific details at the moment. At first, the man in the eye of the storm only revealed one arm, but as the arm continued to extend outwards, his arm and shoulder were also revealed, and the hospital gown he was wearing was also revealed. Rather than saying that it was worn on his body, it was more accurate to say that the hospital gown had grown into his flesh, making it impossible for him to take it off for the rest of his life. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that the gown that the man was wearing was similar to the one worn by the doctor at the school's hospital. They should have escaped from the same place, but one had escaped to the Red City, and the other had hidden in the school of the afterlife. Chen Ge saw the change outside the education block. When the patient's gown was revealed, a strong sense of anxiety rose in his heart. The man in the fog probably came from the cursed hospital as well, a patient that had escaped from the hospital. Just a patient that had escaped was already so scary, so how scary would the hospital itself be? Actually, Chen Ge knew that even though they were both 4-star scenarios, the cursed hospital and the school of the afterlife were not on the same level. Just like the third sick hall and the underground morgue, they were both 3-star scenarios, but the underground morgue was several times more difficult than the third sick hall. One door pusher was Dr. Gao, and the other was Meng Nan. If Meng Nan fought against Dr. Gao alone, the result would be obvious. The school of the afterlife and the cursed hospital should be the same. One door pusher had died a long time ago, and only the school's consciousness was left. The other had extended their reach so far that the whole of Zhujiang could see their shadows. If he were to rank the known 4-star scenarios on the black phone according to their difficulty, the school of the afterlife would be the easiest, followed by the ghost fetus, and finally, the cursed hospital would be the last. I've gotten involved with the cursed hospital. Based on the non-smiler, the hospital will definitely come to find me. The ghost fetus knows that I've killed the shadow, so he will come to find me as well. Chen Ge could not share his troubles with others. A normal person would not attract the attention of a red specter no matter how hard they tried, but Chen Ge was being targeted by 2 4-star scenarios at the same time. I haven't done anything that has crossed the line. While Chen Ge was thinking, the situation outside the education block changed again. The man in the fog melted his arm into the mirror. The black blood that flowed through his body appeared to be a kind of poison that could affect one's memory and emotions. The blood-red mirror cracked on a large scale. The man abandoned his arm, and the mirror crumbled completely. Memories filled the room, and the sound of crying echoed in the students' ears. It sounded like the school of the afterlife was crying. The mirror cracked, and all the buildings and scenarios inside the mirror crumbled, including the library and the lab that the painter once stood in. However, to everyone's surprise, the last building to crumble was the education block on the eastern campus. The building collapsed layer by layer, and the rooms disappeared one after another until only the toilet at the end of the 4th-floor corridor was left. The dried blood vessels covered the room in layers. With the invasion of the black blood, the layers of blood vessels peeled off. The cubicles of the toilet became illusory, and the cubicle doors started to disappear until they reached the last cubicle. Chen Ge had been there before. He remembered clearly that the last cubicle did not have a door. When the last layer of blood vessels peeled off, the cubicles with doors all disappeared, and a door appeared in the cubicle that did not have a door. The door appeared to have been there all along. Thinking back, this door that did not exist on the eastern and western campuses was actually the only real door that existed on both campuses. When the illusion shattered, the real door appeared. The last cubicle of the 4th-floor toilet was where the door pusher of the school of the afterlife had pushed open the door that led to the blood world. Without the obstruction of the mirror, everyone at the school could see the door. It was covered in cracks like it had been broken before being pieced back together bit by bit. The door to the school of the afterlife had finally appeared. It was the only real existence in the paradise, the real core of the mirror world. When the illusion shattered, the heaven that the painter had built was shattered, and the dream was broken. The large eastern and western campuses only had this door left. It looked normal, different from the doors in other scenarios. There was no blood on it, it looked like a normal door in real life. "Look, there's something behind the door." Quote. Someone in the crowd shouted, and everyone turned to look behind the door. The cracked door reflected a blood-red figure, and a woman was hiding behind the door. She was not tall and wore normal clothes. The only eye-catching thing was that her chest was dyed red with blood. The woman had a bleeding heart. Chong Wenyu. She's been hiding behind the door. Quote. The most dangerous place was the safest place. No one would have guessed that Chong Wenyu had been hiding behind the door. Everyone, including the painter, was shocked. Of course, the most shocked was the man in the fog. He had finally found the door after so much effort, but just as he was about to touch the door, there was another person standing next to it. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Everything that he had done seemed to have gone to someone else's benefit. Chong Wenyu seemed to have guessed that things would turn out this way. She did not panic at all. Just as the man's hand was about to reach the door, she moved to block it. Chong Wenyu. The man in the fog screamed, but his arm that had turned into black blood was unable to get close to the door. Chong Wenyu, who was in normal clothes, held her bleeding heart, and there was a mocking smile on her pale face. Strange runes appeared on her shirt, and as they disappeared, more and more students collapsed to the ground like they had been sucked dry. From the beginning, this door has never considered the people at the school. It keeps tricking lost souls from real life into this place just to strengthen itself so that it will not be lonely. What is the difference between that and the devil? It's not even as good as the devil. At least the devil makes use of human greed and desire, but this door makes use of the weakness and despair in human hearts. Chong Wenyu was prepared. To be able to fight against the painter at the school of the afterlife, she was a difficult person to deal with. Using hope to trick people into thinking that this is a safe haven to escape from reality. But when you really come here, you will realize that this is a deeper layer of hell. There is no redemption, no hope, and even escape is impossible. Chong Wenyu looked at the broken door before her. Why did they keep a door like this? She seemed to be asking the painter a question, but it also seemed like she was conversing with the door. I know the exact location of the door, but the door never appears in front of me. If I wasn't forced into a corner, I wouldn't even be able to see the door. The smile on Chong Wenyu's face slowly disappeared. She stood in front of the door, and the runes on her back seeped into the cracked door. The door, which was already full of cracks, trembled slightly as if it was wailing. Painter, actually, there's something you don't know. Ever since I left the school of the afterlife, I have lost the school's approval. But have you ever wondered why so many people are willing to help me even though I've lost the school's approval? Chong Wenyu kept questioning the painter. The man in the fog was stuck in the middle, surrounded by enemies, and he was the most anxious one. The painter did not answer Chong Wenyu's question but kept attacking the man in the fog. You have the answer in your heart, but you're just running away from it. Not every student at this school wants to stay, they should have their own choice. If they can't choose their life, no matter where they go, it's just a change of cage. Chong Wenyu guarded the door. She wanted to destroy the door, the man in the fog wanted the door, and the painter only wanted to kill. The three of them had different goals, and they fought. The most uncomfortable one was the man in the fog, who was surrounded by enemies. He could not move forward or retreat. He wanted to give up, but he was unwilling because the door was right before him. Some treated the school of the afterlife as a safe haven, and some treated the school of the afterlife as a cage that they could not escape from. Some tried their best to change the school of the afterlife, to turn the bad things into good things, and some wanted to destroy all the bad things so that they would not harm more people. Chen Ge saw the battle above the school, but he could not judge who was right or wrong. Everyone had their own thoughts, and the school's seemingly unified consciousness was actually very fragile. Chen Ge, this is a good chance. Let's leave from the path on the field. Yin Hong did not care who would be the final winner between the painter and Chong Wenyu. She just wanted to leave. For most of the students, this school did not have any good memories. This is indeed a good chance. The opportunity that Chen Ge mentioned and the opportunity that Yin Hong mentioned were two completely different things. He was very brave, and his eyes looked up at the sky. Let them fight. Those top red specters that we can only look up to will eventually fall, and then it will be our turn to make our move. You want to attack them. Yin Hong broke out in cold sweat from what Chen Ge said. Be it the man in the fog, the painter, or Chong Wenyu, any one of them could easily kill a normal red specter. They had touched the door to become a greater red specter, and with the help of the school's consciousness, they could unleash power that was close to that level. Don't be scared by them. Look closer. Even though the painter and Chong Wenyu have a huge conflict, they are working together to deal with the man in the fog. The man hiding in the fog has an advantage against the painter alone, but when he's attacked by the painter and Chong Wenyu, it's only a matter of time before he loses. The man in the fog will either escape the school or be eaten by the painter and Chong Wenyu. The key is that there is an irreconcilable conflict between the painter and Chong Wenyu. After the man in the fog leaves, they will attack again. Chen Ge saw through it. Chong Wenyu wants to destroy the school's door, and the painter wants to use the door to rebuild heaven here. Neither of them will let go of this chance. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. I still think it's better if we don't interfere. We're lucky to be able to escape. Not only Yin Hong, Han Song and the other students did not want to go against the painter or Chong Wenyu. However, the workers did not say anything like they had confidence in Chen Ge. The scariest thing about the painter is his special power. Chong Wenyu hasn't shown up because she wants to exhaust the painter's power. In a battle of life and death, they will use all their trump cards. After they decide the winner, we'll just be facing an empty shell. Quote. Chen Ge's tone was calm, like he was talking about something insignificant. You've been living at the school of the afterlife, so it's normal for you to be afraid of the painter and Chong Wenyu, but for me and other outsiders, they are just two normal top red specters. Hearing Chen Ge's consolation, Yin Hong and the other students felt even worse. There are no normal top red specters, Yin Hong grumbled. Yin Hong grumbled softly. She looked at Chen Ge and was suddenly reminded of what Mr. Lei had said earlier. Her eyes involuntarily fell on Chen Ge's shadow. She could feel that there was something hidden in Chen Ge's shadow, but the presence was weak, and she could not tell. Fine, I'll believe you this once. Yin Hong then ran to Yin Bai's side and grabbed her hand forcefully. No matter what happens later, don't let go of my hand. You have to know that I'm the only person in this world who truly treats you well, Yin Hong said to Yin Bai in a tone that sounded like she was leaving her last words. It gave Yin Bai quite a scare. The sound of fighting came from outside the school of the afterlife. Chen Ge looked calm on the surface, but internally, he was very anxious. He had called Zhang Ya's name many times in his heart, but there was no reply. Without Zhang Ya, with the red specters around him, he could still fight, but that was just the ability to resist. The old well at Muyang High School hides the painter's secret. The painter definitely knows about the well, so that route is not safe enough. Furthermore, even if we leave the school of the afterlife through the well, it will be very difficult to enter the third sick hall through the Red City. There were many students gathered around Chen Ge, and he had no confidence that he could lead them away. If they really walked out of the blood-colored city, most of the students would probably have their souls scattered and be buried in that city forever. The safest way is to wait and let us control the situation. The school of the afterlife was a 4-star scenario and was independent of the Red City. Now that the door had appeared, there were fewer secrets, and more things were revealed. Chen Ge was getting more confident. Chen Ge, do you really think we can become the new owners of this place? Can we do better than Painter? The old headmaster was anxious. He was the oldest and the most rational. The painter's power is close to a greater red specter, and he has such a scary special power, but even so, he cannot completely control the school and gain the door's approval. Do you think we can do that? The old headmaster had his suspicions for a long time, but he did not voice them out. Chen Ge wanted him to become the headmaster of the school of the afterlife, but he was just a half-red specter. Any red specter around him could easily kill him, much less the painter. The students entered the door out of despair. They wanted to find salvation behind the door, not to lie and hide. The painter's intention was good, but he was too stubborn. There is no heaven behind the door, and once the fake heaven is exposed, the consequences will be even more severe. Chen Ge turned back to glance at the old headmaster. What we want is not to lie, but to truly help those homeless children and turn this place into a home that they can rely on. We are not going to build a heaven, we are just going to build a harbor for them. When they are tired, they can come here to rest, and when they want to leave, no one will stop them. More than half of a person's life is filled with pain and conflict. No one can always do what they want to do. This is a complete life. We will not forcibly change their lives. We will only support them when they are tired. Quote. This was the first time that the red specters and red specters behind the door had heard someone say something like that. They felt like what Chen Ge said made sense, but when they thought about it, it did not feel right. Okay. The old headmaster stopped talking, but there was still a trace of worry in his eyes. When Chen Ge's group was discussing, the situation outside the school changed again. The man hiding in the eye of the storm was surrounded by enemies. He had originally formed an agreement with Chong Wenyu, but at the most crucial moment, Chong Wenyu betrayed him. Everyone was doing this for their own benefit. The few top red specters were just using each other. Trust and friendship were rarer than diamonds behind the door. Chong Wenyu. The door that he had been dreaming of was right before him, but he could not touch it. The man in the storm roared. He wished he could tear Chong Wenyu into pieces. We are only one step away from becoming a greater red specter. Whoever can push open this door and become the real owner of the school will have a chance of becoming a greater red specter. Chong Wenyu understood. Do you think I will allow you to become a greater red specter? If you can get your hands on this movable door, you can use it to lure more children into the world behind the door, using their despair and pain to strengthen yourself. Quote. Isn't that how the door works? That world has abandoned you, left you behind the door, bullied you, and tortured you. Now, you finally have a way to take revenge on them, to make them experience the same feeling. Don't you want that? The man in the storm kept roaring. He had sacrificed many things, but there was no reward, and he was in danger of losing his life at any moment. Even now, I still don't understand why the door would appear. It's better to destroy something like this. The runes on Chong Wenyu's back entered the door, and the normal door slowly turned red. Blood leaked out from the cracks on the door. Look, no matter how cleverly this door is hidden, it has the blood of a living person flowing in it. It is a monster that lives on pain and despair. The cracks on the door continued to expand. Every student in the school heard the wailing, but the sound was different. It sounded like it came from their own hearts. The door was wailing, and it affected the minds of all the students. Even the painter was affected. Ever since the blood-colored mirror was broken, the amount of power he could borrow became less and less. His huge and terrifying body kept shrinking, and the few arms on his back that connected heaven and earth also slowly withered, dragging behind him weakly. On the other hand, Chong Wenyu seemed to have left the school and did not rely on the door that much. She was not affected that much, and in fact, her presence was getting stronger. This door took you in when you were at your most desperate, but you want to destroy it. Without it, how will you hide in the future? Must you face that world head-on? Even though the painter was weakened, there was light hidden in his dark eyes. Everything that was happening seemed to be within his expectations. The skin that was wrapped in blood revealed a corner, and the painter turned to look at Chong Wenyu.